And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
If you cannot speak and talk about the history of who they are, then they will not really carry your story. They will not understand their story. So today, the first thing I was the greatest revelation I was telling you a while back is that most people trying to reach, and I'm going to specifically talk today, and next week will be Spanish, the following week the Asian, etc. But I'm going to talk specifically today about the black culture. And I wanted to right now, I know, and how many would agree that I am not black? Can I get a witness, everybody? Amen. Praise God. Praise God. Pretty white to me. Can I get an amen up in here? Yeah. Praise God. Amen. So here's the deal. But what I want to share with you is I want to talk to you about is that, you know, we went across the country and we found out there's certain things that help reach that culture and reach it effectively. And there's certain things that don't make it happen. Okay. And today I would like to talk about those things that do reach the culture, specifically the men of the culture. And the first thing I found out is this. I found out that they do not know their history. That's one of the things that I know. And so you have to tell them their history. So today I'm going to attempt to do that.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Anti-Semitic statements are never good for anybody, right? It's kind of like being anti-black.
But, you know, it's really interesting. I didn't realize that I could be considered anti-Semitic till I read one of the definitions of anti-Semitism. Look at this. The definition says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially, but not exclusively. This sounds like a unethical body. All right, so it says, think about it, that sounds like the type of wording that's in the contracts, right?
Indeed.
such as, especially but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions.
But isn't that what you said? That Jews run everything?
Yeah, but that actually is considered to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I didn't realize that it was anti-Semitic to say, hey, you know, I have a Jewish attorney, I have a Jewish record label, I have a Jewish contractor, I have a
Do you regret your statements?
Or the statements you think you should be walking back? I mean, considering...
What do you mean walking back?
Well, you know, backing up off of them. I mean, the thing is, you've lost a lot of endorsements. People are dropping you. You're getting, you know, vilified. You know, I mean, you might think you're right, but I think, you know, there's a whole world out there that's condemning you for what you said.
Okay, so this right here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery Network, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.
Do you think they stuck together when they heard what you said? Was that what happened?
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
I want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Let me get my banner going here. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Apologies for the delay. And matter of fact, before we get going, let me go ahead and do this here. Let me drop this post here for anyone that want to send a contribution to my cousin's wife and family. I'm going to drop the Cash App information here. Most of you guys already know that my cousin, Dr. Sean Carr, he passed away not this past Monday, but the Monday of last week. And so Wednesday is his funeral. So any one of you guys that's watching would like to send like a love offering. Hey, what's going on with my sound? Let me do something here, family. My sound sounds crazy. Not tonight. Let me mute it. Bear with me 1 second. All right, let's try this again. How do I sound now? Does my voice sound better? That is some crazy stuff with StreamYard. That is not my equipment. I refreshed it. How does my voice sound? If my voice sound better, type 1. If it still sounds like it has bass in my voice, no, it sounds crazy. I'm just going to leave it at that. It sounds crazy. All right, great. That was weird. Good thing I decided to check on the sound. Let me do this here. Let me post this here. Let me see here. I'm just going to put this in a post here. All right, let me post that here. And Let me slow this down. I'm going to have to slow this chat down too for you guys to be able to post. All right. Okay. All right. So again, if anyone wants to make a contribution, feel free to Cash App it. That's my information. And really appreciate you guys for the love and support. I want to say peace and blessings to everyone that's in the chat. I just can't go through the chat and give shout outs because we have almost 700 people that are watching. And so that'll take us half the night just to even get through the list. And if I would have placed additional tags, it will probably be even higher. So I'm not going to go through that. I'm not going to go through the shout outs. We'll do that another time. But again, appreciate you guys for the love and support. But we're going to go ahead and get right into it. We are going to get right into it. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed to the channel. But family, we got a lot to unpack, right? I didn't have a chance to upload clips and all, so I'm just going to get right into it because I was going to upload some clips about Kyrie and his the situation with Kyrie, the after the game, when he was confronted by a reporter and the exchange there. I was going to play that. You guys already know what happened, the end results. Kyrie, he took the post down, the Hebrews to Negroes post that he made. But we're not going to focus on Kyrie. We're not going to focus on Kanye, right? We're going to focus on the article that triggered everything. Now, we may not be able to get through the entire article because it's so much. So with that being said, we are going to just go ahead and get right into the article. Let's go ahead and get into the article. All right. But again, family, moderators, you guys know what to do. If there's anyone trolling, because there's a lot of trolls that tend to jump in these discussions. So if there's anyone in the comment section trolling, guys, you know what to do. Just kick them out. Don't even give them a timeout. No, if they're putting things or typing things that's contrary, kick them out. And I want to encourage everyone, please, it's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to say that you don't know it all, because I don't know it all. But please, let's not use profanity. Let's refrain from using profanity, because being that we are being held under, when I say we're being monitored, we're being monitored heavily. So they're looking, when I say they, YouTube they're looking at these chats. So let's be respectful, whether you agree or disagree. If you disagree, if I say something you don't agree with, it's nothing wrong with just agreeing to disagree. It doesn't have to get ugly. It doesn't have to get nasty. Let's just keep it respectful. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this page out. All right. And for those that may not be familiar with Ron Dalton, he is the author of Hebrews to Negroes. He's also the writer, the producer of the movie, Hebrews to Negroes movie. So all of this started because Kyrie Irving made a tweet. He made a tweet. He did not, do anything. Write anything special on the tweet. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and show you the tweet, even though he took it down. But I'm going to show it here so that way you guys can see it. And I want to say thank you, Sharon, for the love and support. Thank you. Really appreciate you, sis, for the love and support. And family, let's give a shout out to Sharon, because she's really been, really faithful, been a great supporter of this platform. I really appreciate her and appreciate all you. Let's show us some love right now. Let's just show us some love for her contribution tonight. Really appreciate you, sis. Thank you again. All right. So this is the actual tweet, right? Let me pull it up here. This is the tweet that Kyrie Irving made. This is the tweet that really caused the storm with him. Notice what you see here. There's no additional writing. He just shared a tweet.
he reached the Negroes, right? He just shared a tweet. That's it, right? So he got into a heated exchange that was provoked by the reporter, right? And I'm not going to get into the exchange there, but what I want to do is get into the article, right? I want to go to the article, right? And that's what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to get into the article because the article came from this Rolling Stones article by a guy by the name of John Blistein, right? And the name of the article is, the title of the article is Kyrie Irving Boosts Anti-Semitic Movie Peddling Jewish Slave Ships. All right. So matter of fact, let me go ahead and put that here, but we're going to read the article, but let me go ahead and while I'm thinking out loud, actually, as we progress, we'll deal with the slave ship portion of it because we dealt with it last Saturday night when we was here live. But if we have enough time, actually, we will make time. I will upload and I will go over the portion of the Jewish communities, the Christianity, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, their contributions in the transatlantic, not slave trade. It was a world war. And for all those that are teaching prophecy, I want to make it clear. It was not a slave trade. It was a world war. Okay. If you're teaching prophecy, especially with Revelation, and you start dealing with the seals and all that other stuff, and you start dealing with World War III prophecy, guess what? You're excluding your history when you say that World War III is to come. No, because World War, the entire transatlantic slave wasn't a trade. It was a world war. All right. So we'll cover that when we get to it. But let's go ahead and get into the lesson here. All right. And we'll deal with that shortly. Okay. And guess what? The Arabic or slave trade is still going to this day. But anyway, this is the article. Kyrie Irving boosts anti-Semitic movie peddling Jewish slave ships. See, you have to pay attention to the wording. Most people don't even understand in Christianity. Matter of fact, outside Christianity, really don't understand and really have a clue about the Jewish community as we know them, their participation in the slave trade. That's something that gets overlooked. That's something that's not dealt with. And just for the sake of now that we're here, before we get into the article, let me pull up a quick source here because I like to give sources. And you guys noticed that pastor, he was having a discussion with a Ashkenazi Jew, and they made it clear, confirming that the first batch of slaves, as he pointed out, that was on the slave ships, right, that landed in Jamaica, they were Ashkenazis, right? They were not Ashkenazi, they were Sephardic Jews, Sephardic Hebrew Israelites, look like you and I, Negroes. All right. So what I'm going to do here, before we get to this portion of the article that I want to get to, since this is up, let me go ahead and address it right now. All right. So let me go ahead and back it up a little bit. Let me get back to the slave ship thing. All right. Slave ships. Right. And I'm going to talk about this. You guys remember this, right? Now, this here is coming from a source here. This is dealing with Oglethorpe, James Oglethorpe, right? This is dealing with his memoir. And in here, notice what you see here. This is in his memoir. Notice what you see here, right? It says, next day, Oglethorpe divided the men and the boys into parties, one to cut forks, poles, and laths for making more bowers, another to set them up, a third to fetch palmetto leaves, a fourth to thatch, and a Jew workman bread in Brazil. Now, that's a key word right there, bread in Brazil, because no other group of people did you even see the word bread associated with. You had the breeding of slaves, especially here in the United States. Breeding of slaves, that's how we grew in this country. It wasn't just by the import, the shipment of our ancestors the rapturing of our ancestors. Rapture, remember, means rape. It means kidnap. It means abduct. You can look it up. You can Google it. You can do the etymology dictionary definition of it. But in this source, it tells you that there was a Jew workman bred, a slave bred in Brazil. And we know only one group of people that was referred to as being bred, and that's us during the Transatlantic World War, who had come from Savannah, Georgia, right? So I just want to share that little piece of history about the connection with Savannah, Georgia. We'll deal with that another time. But here's this book. I shared this at last week. I'll share one more time, right? Jews and Judaism in the United States, a documentary history by Rabbi Mark Lee Raphael, right? This is a rabbi that wrote this source, right? I didn't write it, right? This is not any lies. No one's making this stuff up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and drop this book inside the comment section. And I encourage you guys to get this book. Get this book. Get this book. Get this book. It may be a little pricey, but it's worth the history, knowing history. Here's the book. I'm dropping it inside the chat right now. And you guys, there it is. That's what I'm referring to right here. Okay. So let's deal with this. I don't want to just focus on slave ships. I want to focus on slavery. I want to focus on chattel slavery. The word chattel comes from the word cattle, right? We're the only people, right? Many would argue, and we can't take away that, and slavery was in other cultures, but actually it wasn't this type of slavery. Chattel slavery, cattle slavery. They had indentured servitude, indentured servants, right? That was even in this country, but anyway. But let's see what this rabbi says. This rabbi, Mark Lee Raphael, says about the Jews and Judaism, the involvement during this time of this transatlantic world war, or some would say slave trade, but I focus on world war. And I'll share, for those that are watching for the first time, I will share the Catholic Church, Christianity, Islam, their participation on why and how our ancestors were raptured. This is Jews and Judaism in the United States. A documented history. Jews also took an active part in the Dutch colonial slave trade. Indeed, the bylaws of the recipe and Mauritia, excuse me if I mispronounce it. Spanish is not my specialty here. Congregations, including an imposta, in other words, a Jewish tax of 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased. So this gives confirmation that source that I shared prior to this, that person, that Jew, that Sephardic Jew, guess what, was a Negro who was purchased, who was enslaved. But anyway, but here it is. 5 soldos for each Negro slave a Brazilian Jew purchased from the West Indies Company. Slave auctions were postponed if they fell on a Jewish holiday. In Kyriakos, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Forgive me if I'm butchering it. But in the 17th century, as well as in the British colonies of Barbados and Jamaica in the 18th century, Jewish merchants played a major role in the slave trade, not a minor role, a major role. In fact, in all the American colonies, whether French, British, or Dutch, Jewish merchants frequently dominated. This was no less true on the North American mainland, where during the 18th century, Jews participated in the triangular trade that brought slaves from Africa to the West Indies, and they exchanged them for molasses, which in turn was taken to New England and converted into rum for sale in Africa. Isaac Day Costa of Charleston, this is South Carolina, in 1750s. David Franks of Philadelphia in the 1760s. Aaron Lopez of Newport News in the late 1760s. And the early 1770s dominated Jewish slave trading on the American continent. Said they dominated. So it wasn't a minor thing. They weren't minor players. They dominated. Right? And these European outposts, the Jews, with their years of mercantile experience and network of friends and family, provided market reports of great use, played a significant role. Notice what it says. It didn't say a minor role, played a significant role in the merchant capitalism, commercial revolution and territorial expansion that developed the New World and established the colonial economies. The Jewish Caribbean nexus provided Jews with the opportunity to claim a disproportionate influence in the 17th and the 18th century New World commerce and enabled West Indian Jewry far outnumbering its core religionists. Further north to enjoy a centrality, which North American Jewry would not achieve for a long time to come. Groups of Jews began to arrive in Suriname in the middle of the 17th century. After the Portuguese regained control of northern Brazil by 1694, 27 years after the British had surrendered Suriname to the Dutch, there were about 100 Jewish families and 50 single Jews there, or about 570 persons. So over 100 families, 570 persons, they possessed more than 40 estates, and 9,000 slaves contributed 25,905 pounds of sugar. Understand this, family, especially when you study Jamaica, Barbados. The worst plantation, not just over there in this country, were the sugar plantations. And as I stated before, slaves would get mangled by these machines, limbs would be pulled off and ripped off their bodies from this machine, and they would replace them just like replacing a car part. They'll put another slave in line and just keep things going. That's the worst. That was like the worst plantations. You can look this up. That even during what is called what we call it, I forgot the name that I wanted to call it, moving day. That's it. That's a Wall Street term, moving day, right? When you understand moving day, which was the day after January 1st, New Year's, right? If the slave plantation, the slave owners, if they were in a red, so what they would do is they would take slaves with them and they would sell them on January 1st, right? After New Year's Eve. That's the real watch night service, because the slaves did not know whether or not if they were that was going to be the last time they saw their loved ones. I got writings. There was a situation where a woman had like 7 or 8 kids and all of her children was given away, was sold rather. So the slaves on watch night, that would be the last time. They weren't waiting for Abraham Lincoln to come and save them. This was something that was happening well before Abraham Lincoln. On watch night service, they did not know whether or not this was their last time of seeing each other. So if they were in the red, January 1st, that's where the slave owners would auction, take their slaves to the auctions. They would either auction out their service or outright sell them. And so on January 2nd was what is called moving day. That's where the slaves had to report. But on January 1st, many slaves were begging the masses, saying, hey, massa, please buy me massa, please buy me massa, because they did not want to go to the sugar plantations. Those were like and it's sad when you just look at slavery as a whole, this war, to even look at any plantation as being a good thing, right? This bad situation is not as bad as that situation. So I'd rather go to that plantation, even though it's bad, but it's not bad like this. So Jews owned 115 plantations and were a large part of a sugar export business, aka Domino Sugar. Y'all know, y'all seen Domino Sugar. Y'all know what that is. That's where it comes from. They played a major role, right? A lot of our ancestors died. They discovered a burial in Texas, covered up, of our ancestors that was on a sugar plantation. Covered up, built over, you can look it up. So part of a sugar export business which sent 21,680,000 pounds of sugar to Europe and New World markets in 1730 alone. Just that alone, 1 year, 21,680,000 pounds of sugar. Slave trading was a major feature notice what it says, slave trading was a major feature of Jewish economic life in Suriname, which as a major stopping off point in the triangular trade, both North American and the Caribbean Jews played a key role in this commerce. Records of a slave sale in 1707 revealed that the 10 largest Jewish purchasers spent more than 25% of the total funds exchanged. All right. So I just wanted to give you guys a little history to make sure that you understand that all of the communities, all these different communities benefited off our people. And this right here is a rabbi that I pointed out who played a major, who pointed out how the Jewish community played a major role in the transatlantic world war, right? Played a major role in selling our ancestors, played a major role, all right? And when I get a chance, I'm not sure if it's here. Matter of fact, let me see if I have it here. Just, for those that watching this for the first time, you heard me mention Christianity. Let me see if I can pull it up here. If I have it right here. I'm going to copy this over and we're going to deal with Christianity real quick. And I'm going to show you how the Catholic Church, the Christian Church, they declared war on our ancestors. That's a fact. Cannot get around that history, regardless of history. I don't like to use the term or the phrase good history, bad history. For me, history is history. Let's just teach what history really is. That's where I'm at with it. I don't want to hear that's good history or that's bad history. No, history again is history. Let's just teach history. All right. So let's go ahead and deal with this real quick, and then we'll get to the article. I'm just laying the foundation here, family. Just like a court case, the presentation of the evidence is everything. The presentation of the evidence is everything. So let me present to you slavery and the Catholic Church. Let me bring this up here, right? This is coming from page 52 and page 53. Papal grants. This is the Pope, Papa, grants to the kings of Portugal, giving authority to enslave Saracens. Wait a minute. So the Pope had the authority in both the temporal and spiritual, according to the doctrines, grants the kings of Portugal, gave the kings of Portugal permission. Notice here, giving authority to enslave the Saracens. And matter of fact, let me drop this source inside the comment section, because again, we're not going to be accused of just making up stuff, and I'm going to show you here as we go and we just deal with Ron Dalton. We're going to see whether or not if Ron Dalton was telling the truth. We're going to put Ron Dalton on trial, right? I thought I could put it here. I'll copy it in here before the end of this presentation, because we're going to put some of what this article that I'm going to get to after I do deal with this. We're going to see if Ron Dalton, if that writer of that article, if he has a leg to stand on, or if Ron Dalton did exactly what he's being accused of, right? With his Hebrews to Negroes. And we're going to get into it, right? So here it is. Papal grants the kings of Portugal was given authority to enslave the Saracens and other non-Christians of West Africa with whom Christendom is at war. Notice what it says. Christendom is at war. West coast of Africa, Christendom is at war. 1452 through 1514. In 1442, a Portuguese captain brought to the coast, the Gold Coast, right? The Gold Coast, some Moorish prisoners of war. Notice the names here, Moorish prisoners of war. They were at war, right? They were at war with the Portuguese. They were at war with so what they did was they had prisoners of war that was being held. So they took 10 Negro slaves, right? Took 10 Negroes and exchanged them for the release of prisoners of war and brought these back to Lisbon, which was a trading settlement, was established at Lagos by 1442. It would appear that by 1452, the Portuguese were anxious to establish their property rights over their newly discovered West African territory. And so the Pope Nicholas, Saint Nick, Pope Nicholas V was approached and was apparently led to believe that these territories of the Guinea coast were inhabited by Saracens and other enemies of Christendom. There is no other explanation of a series of papal documents which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. Let me say that again, which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war. Let me say it one more time. Which applied the well-known contemporary rules of war to the situation in West Africa, which, as the Portuguese were well aware, the local Negroes, Negro inhabitants were not Saracens, were not Muslims, and were not enemies of Christendom. All right, so that's just a little summary from last week. I encourage you guys, watch the presentation that I did last week. Because I covered a lot of information. And so we're just going to go into it right now. So I want to make sure that I'm showing sources. And I'm going to show you here that even then, if we don't start reading, if we don't start doing our own due diligence, start studying for ourselves, we can use sources. But guess what? They can just take what we present here and literally slander it. Okay, so but we're not going to stop right here. We're going to go into this the article that the Rolling Stones article here. The Rolling Stones, John Blistein, Kyrie Irving boosts anti-Semitic movie peddling Jewish slave ships. Right, this is a lot right here because I want you guys to understand. I didn't put this part of it in my presentation. I was going to deal with the presentation of the evidence to show you, how important it is to present evidence, how circumstantial evidence, as well as having actual evidence, as far as a live witness that was actually there to witness, is just as important. So again, I just hope you guys really pay attention to what I present here, because in any court case, guess what? Just even a doubt, proving a shadow of a doubt, right? Bringing a slight doubt to whatever is being charged can cause the case to be kicked out. So I'm going to show you here. We're going to let the evidence speak for itself to see if this person who wrote this article, John Blistein, if he was being honest with his accusations, not just to Kyrie, but ultimately to Ron Dalton. Okay, so this is the first portion that I want to highlight, and we'll get to the actual this here. We'll get to that afterwards because that's a lot to cover. But let's start here. Hours before another Brooklyn Nets loss on Thursday, noted free thinker, family, if you understand the Willie Lynch letter, right? I didn't put it in here because I didn't want to take a lot of time explaining that, but the free thinker, the Willie Lynch letter would call this person to be, he would refer to him as an uncivilized Negro, right? Negus, right? Let me say that because I know when I say Negus, We cringe because we still have a colonized mindset. And then also when we start thinking about the agendas, we have taken or allowed that word negus, Negus, which also Nigger, as well as Niger, not Niger, all come from the same source. It's the same word. So let me play this real quick so you guys understand what it means. Negus. Let me play this coming from the Strong's Concordance, or this is the audio. It's going to give you a verbal. Actually, this is the Blue Letter Bible. It's going to pronounce a key word, tell you exactly what Simon. It says Niger, but let you hear the actual pronunciation of it real quick.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right, so you heard that. You heard what exactly the proper pronunciation of it. So now I'm going to play a spelling bee, right? I want you to hear this kid. And of course, I put a little humor to it, right? Just to make humor of it. But this is a kid, an ESPN National Spelling Bee. This is him having to spell the word negus, right? Let's see. I want you to hear it with your own ears. And you could Google this. You could YouTube this. That video has over, I think, 2 or 3 million views because he was nervous. He was told to spell this word. He was nervous. I couldn't imagine being in his position, spelling this word, whether you Caucasian or not, because the way that we were groomed and processed, if we were in a spelling bee at this age, we'll be nervous too. But notice what it says here.
Negus. And did you say the word loudly for the judges?
Nigga.
Negus. One more time.
Nigger.
Negus.
Negus. Nigga.
Negus.
All right. So that's a little boondocks there, just to add a little humor to it. But that just shows just how colonized we've been. Things that was positive words have been changed into negative words. All right. Fair use. Wanted to say fair use just to make sure we understand that this is what happened to our community. Everything that was positive was switched over on us, right? To make it into a bad word. All right. So I want to make sure that is not throwing any slander or anything like that. That's why I wanted you to hear again, and let me play it one more time as we progress here. I want to play it one more time.
Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger. Strong's G 3526. Niger. Niger.
All right. Now, that's going back to this free thinker, right? Because that's what they call Kyrie Irving, a free thinker. And they say it as a byword, as if this is an insult. There's a problem with free thinking, not allowing everyone to tell you what to do and how you should respond. Well, and with the Willie Lynch letter, right? According to the Willie Lynch letter, whether you believe that it's a valid letter or not, but those terms, civilized and uncivilized, those terms were tossed around during that time. So a uncivilized Negro or Negus, right? They were considered to be those that were bucking against the system. They refer to them as being uncivilized, free thinkers, right? And those that were broken or submitted to the system, they were considered civilized. So when we look here, hours before another Brooklyn Nets loss on Thursday, noted free thinker and basketball player Kyrie Irving took to Twitter to boost a movie and book, Hebrews to Negroes, stuffed with anti-Semitic tropes. He goes on to say here, the 2018 film, was directed by Ron Dalton Jr. and based upon his 2015 book of the same name. A description of the film states that it uncovers the true identity of the children of Israel, while a similar one for the book reads, right? It goes on to say, since Europeans and Arab slave traders stepped foot into Africa, blacks have been told lies about their heritage. Both suggest Hebrews to Negroes espouses ideas in line with more extreme factions of the Black Hebrew Israelites. Right? And notice the things that it highlights here. It says, which have a long history of misogyny, homophobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, especially anti-Semitism. You see, right? See all the things to set up and push the narrative. Right? Automatically boxing someone that says or understand that they are a blood descendant of the ancient Israelites are considered to be what? Extremists? Boxed into Black Hebrew Israelites? Come on now. What about the Limba? What about the Igbos? We keep going down those lines. The Igbos was just confirmed. The Limbas, you can look it up. Proven to be blood descendants of ancient Israel. The Igbos just was confirmed about 6-7 months ago by the Sephardic Council, the Obadiah Alliance, to being and confirmed to being ancient Israelites, descendants of ancient Israelites. And for every Negro that was on those slave ships, at least 1 out of every 4 Negro was and can be proven to be Igbos. Igbos were sent to Haiti, right? Those Igbos that helped liberate this country, helped save Savannah, Georgia from being taken during the Revolutionary War. Look it up. Henry Christopher. You see their statues right in front of First African Baptist Church, which was originally called Ethiopian Church of Christ, constituted in 1773. You will see statues of these people, these soldiers from Haiti that helped hold down and prevented Georgia from being sacked. Right? But according to the way things are, the propaganda machine, you hear this term Hebrew Israelites. Think about the ridicule that comes with the territory. Some of you guys dealt with the ridicule. You can show DNA. You can show DNA proof that you are connected. You'll see Igbo, you'll see Limba, you'll see Ethiopian Jew, you will see Moroccan Jew, like my DNA shows. Family tradition can pass all this stuff down, and you will get boxed into this category, right? They made this label Black Hebrew Israelites because to lump everyone up into one category, Black Hebrew Israelites. Oh, extremists. What? Really? And that's exactly what this writer did right here. Why bring all of this other stuff up if he really had a valid point? That's just my question. If he had a valid point, if somebody is a murderer, you don't have to bring up the history of someone the history of killing someone. If you're dealing with Jeffrey Dahmer's, right, and no disrespect to the victims, you don't have to deal with what's his name, George Mason, Jeff, whatever his name, some of the other serial killers. You're not bringing all of them up, man. You're dealing with that one serial killer right there, or whatever it may be, other crimes, whatever it may be, other situations. But here had to set the tone because of, hey, the label of being identity extremists, because that was the initial label, identity extremists. Right? But then again, is there a problem with this video here? This clip that I shared here, the pastor sitting with an Ashkenazi Jew, right? Making it clear that DNA proved exactly what he's saying about Sephardics, about Jamaicans. And guess what? We all from the same ship. It wasn't just the Jamaicans from a different territory. All of us came off the same ships. They just got let off at a different stop. So I want to make sure I make that clear. We're all the same people. Some got dropped off in Jamaica, some Barbados, some with some of the other ones, Haiti, some in Brazil, got dropped off at different stops. It just so happened we landed on this country. We were taken here. Some of us landed in Savannah. Some of us landed in Charleston, South Carolina. Some of us landed in North Carolina. Some of us landed in Richmond, Virginia, or Williamsburg, Virginia, or Jamestown. But we are the same people. And that's what the institution of racism, the institution, this educational system that we're part of, that's what it caused us to think that we're different people. But we're the same people, came off the same slave ships, but just different stops. Each one of us was just one stop away of being in a different place, a different geographical location. All right. So, but let's continue on. Let's see exactly what else this guy says here, because I don't want to push you one way, sway you one way or another, right? But we see here, it talks about the Black Hebrew Israelite movement. It talks about, as you see here, the notion that Black people are the real descendants of the ancient Israelites, right? But let me play that one clip real quick of that pastor again for those that are joining in for the first time, because I don't want people to think that, hey, here it is, this pastor, he's just making up stuff. Let me allow you to hear it one more time.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
Right. So Brother Man didn't say it, right? The Ashkenazi Jewish guy that was on the panel confirms it, saying it was confirmed by way of DNA. So I want to make sure you guys hear that. Hear it with your own ears, right? This is not anti-Semitism by stating that we are connected to the ancient Israelites. I'm not saying every melanated person is. That's not where I'm going at with it. But what is the problem with us here in this country? What's the problem with us acknowledging that we are connected to the ancient people of the books, especially when you show receipts, or should I say, documented proof, starting with DNA? All right. So let's go. Let's continue with this here. So it says people have been robbed of their identity as being God's chosen people, and they make a source by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Why didn't he just focus on exactly what Ron Dalton was talking about? Why put all of this other stuff, right? Why? Because it's painting a picture. Because most people, I can guarantee you, like this Shannon Sharps, these guys haven't watched that movie to even say, hey, you know what? Let me watch it and see exactly what it's saying about the movie. Right? Like any other movie. If somebody's told you about, let's just say, I like watching the Marvel movies. I like watching Infinity War and all of that. If somebody told me, hey, you know what, man, I don't think you should watch that movie. Guess what? I may not go to the movies and pay for it. I'm going to wait till it come on, streaming. Once I'm allowed to stream it. All right, I'll watch it at the confines of my home. But I'm still going to watch it to see if they said what's true, if the movie was really good or not. But what's happening now is propaganda. The propaganda machine can tell us, find a person guilty with public opinion, and people won't even take the time out and say, let me confirm this. Let me research. Matter of fact, let me see what this Hebrew to Negro stuff is all about. Let me read it. Let me watch it. Let me see if what I'm hearing is accurate. Let me see if it's accurate. Let me see if if it actually lines up. And if it doesn't line up, or if it does line up, if it's what confirm what has been said about it, then you leave it alone. But family, that's not how things are handled right now. Unfortunately, we are being basically herded, herd mentality, herded to different areas. They already have what, when I say when we start dealing with entertainment, as far as television. That's why they call it tell-a-vision, right? So, you heard that before. Other people would say tell-a-vision, right? But nevertheless, right, it's forcing certain viewpoints on you, on us, on anyone that watches, because you would never think that someone would, or anyone would stoop to these levels and erase someone's identity, or tell someone that you are not this and you this over here. Well, guess what? Everything that you could think of that happened to our people, it happened. It happened. And all we can claim here in this country is African American, but not what tribe you come from. So again, 23andMe, if you did your 23andMe, guess what? I guarantee if you see Nigeria, you're going to see Igbo right next to it. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. It says, it's those extremist sects that have often parroted classic anti-Semitic tropes, like claiming European Jews, often referred to as the synagogue of Satan, wield outsized control over society, especially in the industry like banking and the media. They've also pushed anti-Semitic claims that that Jews are responsible for slavery and the effeminizing of Black men. The question is, was that inside of the movie? Was that inside the book? See, instead of giving these bland statements, give quotes from outside the book. Give quotes from outside the movie. See, when you're reading this, you're assuming that this person that is writing this article has already did his due diligence. In many cases, most haven't. So most of these people that's commenting on, for example, this movie, haven't even watched it, haven't even taken the time to say, let me at least take a look at what is being said about the movie to see if it's true. What's going on? So at least I could be up to speed what's going on. But anyway, it says at one point, the purported documentary Irving shared, Dalton, who narrates the film, brings up the real truth about the slave trade. He claims when teaching slavery, schools don't mention the involvement of the Catholic Church, Arabs, East Africa, or Islamic slave traders, or Jewish slave ships that brought our African Negroes or Bantu ancestors to slave ports owned by Jews. Now, family, I already gave you the source on there, just some information on that. But can I ask you a question? Have all what I presented thus far about the history of the Catholic Church, as far as with slavery, what I shared with you from the Rabbi Raphael about the Jewish participation had a major play in the slave trade. Type in 1 if your schools taught this. Type 2 if your school didn't teach this. Type 1 is if your school system made you believe, especially if you melanated, if you descended of slaves, that your history started on those slave ships. Type 1 if you were taught this in school. Type 2 if you were not taught this in school. Come on, fam. We have to be real. We have to be real with it. Why does it have to be in this smoke, this fire, this destroy everyone, destroy them, annihilate them, when it comes to just having simple dialogue on history? Why is it a problem that it's not a problem from other communities like the Asian community? Because I don't have the clip up here where Asians honoring the law of Aliyah, the law of return, being accepted as Jews. Why is it a problem when we start saying that, wait a minute, my DNA proved it to me. I could go right down the list. I am connected to the ancient people of the book. And how come we're under major fire because of that? Major fire. Anything but the Negro. Right? And again, this is not a hate speech. We're not hating on anyone. What I share with you, I am not directing any hate to anyone. I am not going personal. I'm just giving you sources. Even with this writer here, I'm not going personal with him. I'm just highlighting what he highlighted inside a public article here that Kyrie was pressured to take him down and was referred to as supporting anti-Semitism. So let's continue here. right? It says there, and I'm highlighting here, it says that chapter 4, going back here, it says, where is it? Yeah. Yeah. So the point that I want to make, because he says in this article that Ron Dalton, especially chapter 4, starts by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be traced back to key Jewish texts. That's what this is one of the key points that this writer made. So let me show you here. He says here, Hebrews to Negroes, the book contains even more instances of anti-Semitism. The book's 4th chapter, when did racism towards a Black start? Right? Pay attention to here. It says starts by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be tracked back to key Jewish texts. So this writer said that chapter 4 of Ron Dalton's book begins with this right here, starts by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be traced back to key Jewish texts. Western education and religion tries to teach the world that Blacks are cursed with their skin color by the curse of Ham and Canaan. This is also taught in European Jewish documents and in the teachings of the Talmud book in Judaism. Some can say that it established the base for Black racism even before the KKK. Notice what he says here, right? He says some can say. Some can say. I want y'all to make sure y'all pay attention to this, because what I read to you, starting from these quotation marks, right, all the way to these quotes right here, the writer pulled it exactly out of Ron Dalton's book, word for word. But let's get clarity here. So what does he say in this book about the origins of the curse of Ham? Right? According to John Blistein, Ron Dalton starts chapter 4 of his book by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be traced back to key Jewish texts. That's what he stated. I'm going to say that again. According to John Blistein, Ron Dalton starts chapter 4 of his book by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be tracked back to key Jewish texts. So is John Blistein correct with his accusation? And I'm going to tell you he's completely wrong about this accusation, and I'm going to show you why. Did the journalist of the Rolling Stones article properly quote Ron Dalton's book? Absolutely not. And this is why I'm going to share with you. This is coming out of Ron Dalton's book, Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. Because, hey, when someone making an accusation, I want to know exactly what's being said. This is how you should do. This is how all you guys should be. If someone making an accusation, if someone putting something out, I want to confirm whether or not if it's real, if it's true. We've been fed a lot of lies by way of social media. That's why they have all kinds of panel discussions on Capitol Hill about filtering what they would call fake information. Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up to Black America. This is coming from Ron Dalton's book. This is chapter 4. Right now, I want y'all to pay attention here. Right? Let me go back here. I made sure that you can see this in the background. This is the full, right, paragraph that begins chapter 4. Chapter 4. This is the full paragraph. The highlighted the yellow highlight is what this journalist, this writer, this is what he quoted in his article. He didn't put these first two sentences there, and I'm going to show you here. So this is what the entire paragraph says. Oftentimes, growing up, I wondered that if the original man and woman were white, then where did Black people come from? In the Black church, most African Americans are taught in Sunday school lessons that Adam and Eve are white. Now, family, you are the people, you are the jury. Does this line up with what the writer of the Rolling Stones article stated? The writer of the Rolling Stones article said that Ron Dalton started the chapter off pointing the fingers at the Jewish community. That's what he said. We'll get back to his actual article, right? But here, do you see Ron Dalton, right, in this chapter, beginning the chapter off like this writer stated that he did? If you believe that Ron Dalton did not say those things, type 1. If the writer was not correct, type 2. Right? Let all those that are watching, let them see your vote. Did Ron Dalton start this chapter off pointing the fingers at the Jewish community? So far, for those that are watching, as you see, right? So far, nothing but ones, right? Right? Was Ron Dalton, and I'm going to say this again, I see a couple of twos here, all right? But no, actually, some are saying no. So let me make sure. If Ron Dalton did not do what this writer said he did, like, let me go back to what the writer said. Let me go back just so that way you guys can see it. Let's go back. The writer said, Ron Dalton starts chapter 4 of his book by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be traced back to key Jewish texts, right? He said he starts the chapter off with that, right? So far in the first line of what he said, oftentimes growing up, I wondered that if the original man and woman were white, then where did Black people come from? In the Black church, most African Americans are taught in Sunday school lessons that Adam and Eve are white. Western education and religion tries to teach the world that Blacks are cursed with their skin, right? So according to John Bliston, again, Ron Dalton starts chapter 4 of his book by falsely suggesting that anti-Black racism can be traced back to key Jewish texts, right? Is John Bliston correct with this accusation? I'm gonna let you guys vote on it. I don't even want to sound like I'm trying to sway you one way or the other. So I apologize if I'm swaying you guys, trying to sound like I'm trying to sway you guys. You be honest and open with your assessment, right? But notice here, that's the first couple of sentences, right? But then I'm blowing it up so you can see what I just read, right? That's how it starts off. But we're not going to stop there because when you read the chapter, right? And I'm going to show you here. I don't want to shoot the gun yet, right? But there's something missing from John Bliston's quotes, right? There's something missing. Let's go back here. John Bliston quoted this middle section here. He left off these first couple of sentences. But guess what, family? He left off this source here in the Jewish Torah Anthology, Volume 1. He left that off as if Ron Dalton didn't give sources. See, in that article, it doesn't show that Ron Dalton shared sources. If he's being honest with his journalism, he should have stated the sources that Ron Dalton had made reference to this source versus saying he starts off by giving accusations, right? So this is the book right here that Ron Dalton, right, in that second portion of that, the third portion that I had highlighted in that paragraph, this is what he made reference to. Unfortunately, I ordered the book, so I'm waiting for the book to come in. And when that book comes in, we're going to match up what was said in Ron Dalton's book, the bullets here, and we're going to line it up here. But this is what Ron Dalton pointed out that he got from the book, because he's quoting right here. He's saying these things come from the book, but I'm going to quote. I'm going to see if that's the truth. So let me go to that portion of here. Let's fast forward. Starting here, it says in the Jewish Torah Anthology, Volume 1, page 392 to 393, the details of the true origin of the slanderous beliefs that Blacks received the punishments curses from Canaan reads as follows. These are some of the things that he highlighted. That's he's quoting from the book. And we're going to confirm it when I get the book in. So that way we can see if Ron Dalton quoting the book, right? Because the book is a Jewish source. It's not something that Ron is making up, right? Well, at least I'm going to say allegedly, because right now I don't have the source in front of me. So that way I can show it to you. So when the source comes in, I'm going to do it live. So that way we can compare to see if Ron Dalton is being truthful about these statements. So it says, because he, Ham, looked at his naked father, Noah, his eyes became red, always appearing bloodshot, referring to Africans, right? Because he, Ham, mockingly told his brothers about his father's conditions, right? His lips were made thick and gross like those of a Negro. Let me say it again. Because he, Ham, mockingly told his brother about his father's condition. His lips were made thick and gross like those of a Negro. It goes on to say, because he, in other words, Ham, turned his head to see his father, Noah, the hair of his head and beard became kinky, right? Our hair, right, became kinky, right? Because he did not cover his father, it was decreed that he always go naked and blackened by the sun. But guess what? Since we don't have that source to confirm, right? Because we don't have that source. But let me give you another source, because are there other rabbinical sources that provides information about the curse of Ham? Guess what? It is. And I'm going to let you be the judge. We're going to go to the origin, right? We're going to go to a source rather. Where did this teaching originate? Right? Where did this teaching about Ham originate? Because it's not in the Bible stating that Ham had Canaan was cursed in his skin. There's nowhere in the Bible that says that the curse was given by the Most High, which it wasn't. It was Noah that pronounced the curse over Canaan. Right? But it wasn't dark skin complexion. But anyway, Barakoth 58b. Let's see what it says. This is coming from the Talmud. Barakoth 58b. It says, on seeing pockmarked persons, one says, blessed be he who makes strange creatures. Let me say that again. Blessed be he who makes strange creatures. An objection was raised. If one see a Negro, a very red or white person, that's dealing with someone dealing with albinism, a hunchback, a dwarf, right? So, and you see that right down here. So that way, I'm not making this up. That's right here. If one see a Negro, a very red or very white person, a hunchback, a dwarf, a dropsical person, he says, blessed is he that makes strange creatures. But then it goes on to say, our rabbis taught on seeing an elephant, an ape, or a long-tailed ape. One says, blessed is he who makes strange creatures. Then when we go to Sanhedrin 108b, right, this is what it says. Sanhedrin 108b, this is what it says. Our rabbis taught 3 copulated in the ark, and they were all punished. The dog, the raven, and Ham or Ham. The dog was doomed to be tied. The raven expectorates his seeds into his mate's mouth. Kind of gross here, really gross. And Ham, notice what it says here. And Ham was smitten in his skin. It says Ham was smitten in his skin. But then when you go to the to the footnotes of here, right? This is the article right here. This is what I just read from the footnotes. I don't have it in the backdrop. It's too long to have it there, but this is in the footnotes. An example from his descendants, from him descended Cush, the Negro, who is black skinned. All right. So we see here in the Talmud, right? When we start dealing with Noah, let me go back here. It says Ham was smitten in his skin. Ham, smitten in his skin. So is John Blistein correct with this accusation, because we just gave a couple of sources. We just gave a couple of sources. We're letting the sources speak for itself. We just gave a couple of sources. But guess what? We're gonna touch on a few more things, right? Let's go back to this Rolling Stone article by John Blistein, right? Same article, Kyrie Irving boosts anti-Semitic movie peddling Jewish slave ships. All right. Now let's go to deal with the topic that we said here we'll deal with. Let's deal with this first portion here, because it's a lot to deal with. Kyrie Irving boosts anti-Semitic movie peddling Jewish slave ships. The video is based on a venomously anti-Semitic book, which asserts that many famous high-ranking Jews have admitted to worshiping Satan or Lucifer. The question is he correct? Is this quote coming from Ron Dalton's book? Well, did he accurately quote Ron Dalton? Let's go to the book. I'm going to let you see, right? This is reading what you see here, right? And it covers on to the next page here. Most Jews do not like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer. So I wasn't lying, and we are his chosen people. Lucifer is very much alive. Now, you see here, right? It says prominent Ashkenazi Jew, Harold Wallace Rosenthal, author of The Hidden Tyranny, 1976. We found this source, but we see that Ron Dalton is making reference to a source. This is not Ron Dalton just making up stuff, right? Whether you want to say it's a good source or a bad source, how can a person be called anti-Semitic? And he made sure in his source, prominent Ashkenazi Jew, Harold Wallace Rosenthal. So now we have to give some history on Harold Wallace Rosenthal. We gotta see, where was he a prominent Ashkenazi Jew? He goes on to say here, interesting enough, in earlier years, many Jews and European Scottish York Freemasons have claimed that they worship Satan or Lucifer. Many famous high-ranking Jews and Freemasons have written books admitting to this. All right. So did a little research here, right? This is The Hidden Tyranny, right? The Hidden Tyranny, the issue that dwarfs all other issues. The Rosenthal document, right? This is the quote that Ron Dalton had in his book. Most Jews do not like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer, so I wasn't lying. And we are his chosen people. Lucifer is very much alive. This is coming from The Hidden Tyranny, the issue that dwarfs all other issues, the Rosenthal document. So this is it again. I read it again. Do you have knowledge of when and why the story began about the Jews being God's chosen people? That is when he said, in part, most Jews do not like to admit it, but our God is Lucifer. So I wasn't lying, and we are his chosen people. Lucifer is very much alive. Okay, so Ron Dalton quoted from, he said it's a prominent Jew. So we have to answer that question, whether or not if he was a prominent Jew. But this is someone from the Jewish community. So this person couldn't be referred to as anti-Semitic, anti-Jew, because he's part of the community, right? So, but Ron Dalton is being referred to as anti-Semitic because he made reference to what this person said. I hope you guys paying attention to this, right? Who is Harold Rosenthal and how did he die? We're going to answer this question. This is coming from an article, Jewish Telegraphic Agency. Funeral services held for 2 Israeli killed in Istanbul, August 20th, 1976. right? This is the screen print. And I'm going to drop the source link inside the comment section so that way you guys can review it as we go along here. Because I want to make sure that no one can say that I'm trying to massage the information. I'm trying to sway you one way or the other, but we just trying to get to the bottom of this. We want to see if this writer was being genuine in his if he was using integrity in this article, or did he falsely accuse Ronald Dalton? Who, you know, did Ronald Dalton mislead those that have read the book? We want to give clarity here, and I am giving you clarity. So we know that Ron Dalton used this person as his source, one of his sources, because he lists a lot of sources. I just didn't have time to go through it. So let's drop this here. Let's drop the link here, because family, you are the jury. You are the jury. All right. You are the jury. There is the link right there. All right. So let's go to this article. Funeral services, again, were held today in Petach Tikva for Ernest Eliash, excuse me if I mispronounce his name, and in Haifa for Shlomo Weisbach. They were among the 4 all passengers killed last week during the terrorist attack in Istanbul's. I'm not going to butcher these words here, but you get the gist of it. This is telling you who was killed. But let's go to the next bullet here. This is the key. Also arranged funerals. It says Haifa, and also arranged for the funerals. Also killed during the attack were Harold Rosenthal, an aide to Senator Jacob Javits. Wait a minute. So Ron Dalton said that, he described him as being a notable Ashkenazi Jew, right? But we see he was notable, right? Because he is the aide to Senator Jacob Javits. Harold Rosenberg, aide to Senator Jacob Javits. All right, so he was connected to this senator here. He worked for this senator who was a Jew. He was Jewish, representing the New York State, the state of New York. But let's go further with this. Was Harold Rosenthal Jewish? Now, this is coming from Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, Digital Library Collections, The Hidden Tyranny, the issue that dwarfs all other issues. This is coming from Ronald Reagan, his online library, digital collection, digital library. So I'm going to drop the link, and this is in the link. I'm going to drop the link inside the comment section so that way you guys can download this article and you can read it. You know, like I said, it's a lot of information that I'm bringing out here, but I want to make sure that you guys, you're the jury. You know, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, that's fine. That's fine. You're entitled to do so. You're entitled to agree or disagree. But guess what, family? Let's be honest. Let's let the information speak for itself, right? Versus trying to. I thought I had the link here. All right, let me at least post this link. Let me make sure here. Let me go back one. Go back one more. All right, here it is. Yeah, I'm going to copy this link into the comment section, and you can download it. This PDF that I'm using as a source, that is the full. It goes beyond it. I'll put it in the description. Once we get through here, because it's too large for me to put inside the comment section, but at least let me give you the link. You may be able to Google it as well. Let me give you the link to the Ronald Reagan source from his library. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, it was too large for me to pull it up. Put the full link here that has the PDF that you could download. All right, I'll put the PDF inside the comment section. All right. So, all right. Again, this is coming from Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, Digital Library Collection, The Hidden Tyranny, the issue that dwarfs all other issues, right? And this is that PDF, part of that PDF. And I'm just going to read it to show who Mr. Harold Wallace Rosenthal was. It says here, the Jew. So he was part of the Jewish community. Made this statement after admitting Jewish dominance in all significant national programs. He said, "We Jews continue to be amazed with the ease by which Christian Americans have fallen into our hands, while the naive Americans wait for Khrushchev, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing the name, to bury them. We have taught them to submit to our every demand. Ask how a nation could be captured without their knowledge. Not knowledge, knowing it, excuse me. Let me read it again. Ask how a nation could be captured without knowing it, excuse me. Mr. Rosenthal attributed this victory to absolute control of the media. So you have a Jewish guy, right? A notable Jewish guy, an aide to the senator who died in a terrorist attack overseas, bringing this information up. Now, is Ron Dalton was he wrong? How can he be anti-Semitic if he's giving a source of where he got his information from and quoted this person? He boasts of Jewish control of all news. Any newspaper which refused to acquiesce to control news was brought to its knees by withdrawing advertising. Failing in this, the Jews stopped the supply of news ink and I'm just messing up tonight. Failing in this, the Jews stopped the supply of newsprint and ink. It's a very simple matter, he stated. Right? So remember the link that I shared with you about Kanye West, right? Kanye West came to, some would say he had a come to Jesus moment, right? And I'm going to let you hear what Kanye West said again when he actually came to the realization of the word anti-Semitic. Let's play it real quick and then we'll get back into it.
Anti-Semitic statements are never good for anybody, right? It's kind of like being anti-black.
But, it's really interesting. I didn't realize that I could be considered anti-Semitic till I read one of the definitions of anti-Semitism. Look at this. The definition says, making mendacious, dehumanizing, demonizing, or stereotypical allegations about Jews as such, or the power of Jews as a collective, such as, especially, but not exclusively. This sounds like let the go by. All right, so it says, think about it, that sounds like the type of wording that's in the contracts, right?
Indeed.
Such as, especially, but not exclusively, the myth about a world Jewish conspiracy or of Jews controlling the media, economy, government, or other societal institutions.
But isn't that what you said? That Jews run everything?
Yeah, but that actually is considered to be anti-Semitic.
Right.
So I didn't realize that it was anti-Semitic to say, hey, I have a Jewish attorney, I have a Jewish record label, I have a Jewish contractor, I have a
Do you regret your statements?
Or the statements you think you should be walking back? Considering...
What do you mean walking back?
Well, backing up off of them. The thing is you've lost a lot of endorsements. People are dropping you. You're getting, vilified. You might think you're right, but I think, there's a whole world out there that's condemning you for what you said.
Okay, so this right here is a chart of Universal Studios, 20th Century Fox, ABC News, CBS News, Columbia Pictures, Warner Brothers, ESPN Sports, Fox News, Washington Post, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, MTV Music Television, Nickelodeon, USA Today, Wall Street Journal, Comedy Central, NBC Entertainment, Google, what else do we have? Disney, ABC Kids and Family, YouTube, Los Angeles Times, Discovery Network, Paramount Pictures, Facebook, Huffington Post, Yahoo, Marvel, Hulu, Cosmopolitan, Time, Touchstone, Associated Press, Pixar, Miramax, HBO, New York Post, LucasArts, MSNBC, DreamWorks Animation. Now, the thing is, I skipped over maybe about 5 of them because it was just unclear on this list. The red are the executives that are Jewish at these companies.
Do you think they stuck together when they heard what you said? Was that what happened?
You notice how the question changed? It went from "Don't you feel bad, Kanye, for using saying that the Jews run everything?" And notice how they said, "Don't you feel bad?" They questioned him and said, "Don't you want to you want to pull back what you said about the Jews and controlling the media?" That's what they were saying. So what Kanye West did was he gave them a list because he's like, "Hey, I didn't know that according to this definition that, hey, I'm considered to be anti-Semitic," because he would say that, hey, they run, there's lawyers, there's record company, that he went down a list of it, and then he provided sources explaining himself. So before we continue on, because I'm gonna finish reading this article here that we're highlighting. Let me go to another article real quick that we highlighted from last week, right? Just so that way we already have a Jewish guy here that we're making reference to. Actually, I'm gonna finish reading this, and then I'm gonna go to another article by a Jewish guy who actually said the same thing. But yet, according to anti-Semitism, if anyone says that the Jews are running things, you are considered an anti-Semitic person. How can that be? Right? Because is this person right here, Harold Rosenthal, the late Harold Rosenthal, who is a Jew, is he anti-Semitism? Because that wouldn't stand up in the courts. Because you can't be anti-self. And I proved that. And I'll show the court case again before we wrap up. But failing in this, Jews stopped the supply of news, print, and ink. It's a very simple matter, he stated. Asked about men in high political office, Mr. Rosenthal said that no one in the last 3 decades have achieved any political power without Jewish approval. Americans have not had a presidential choice since 1932. Roosevelt was our man. Every president since has been our man. Right? This is what he pointed out. He's stating what now is under anti-Semitism. Excuse me, considered anti-Semitism. So let's go back. Let me rewind. Let me go to this article here that I said I was going to highlight to see if Kanye West was correct. This is LA Times. Who Runs Hollywood? Come On, by Joel Steen. This is a Jewish journalist who wrote this article, right? And he was saying this back in 2008. Notice what he says here, right? And let's see if anyone going to bring him to the floor. I have never been so upset by a poll in my life. Now he is upset at this poll. Well, what does the poll say? Notice he put there, only 22% of Americans now believe the movies and television industries are pretty much run by Jews, down nearly 50% in 1964. The Anti-Defamation League, now notice it says, is down 50% in 1964. From 1964 to this point of this article is down 50%. The Anti-Defamation League, which released the poll result last month, sees in these numbers a victory against stereotyping. Actually, it just shows how dumb America has gotten. Jews totally run Hollywood. Now, is this person going to be made out to be crazy? Or am I going to be considered an anti-Semitic person according to the definition? And this is coming from someone within the Jewish community? This is a Jewish journalist, right? Notice what he says. How deeply Jewish is Hollywood? When the studio chiefs took out a full-page ad in the Los Angeles Times a few weeks ago to demand the Screen Actors Guild settle its contracts, the open letter signed by, notice what it says here, News Corp, President Peter Chernin, Jewish, Paramount Pictures, Chairman Bradley Gray, Jewish, Walt Disney's co-chief executive, Robert Iger, Jewish. Now, I believe he jumped ship right at the beginning of the pandemic, right? Sony Pictures, Chairman Michael Linton, Dutch Jew, Warner Brothers, Chairman Barry Mayer, Jewish, CBS Corp, Chief Executive Leslie Moonves, so Jewish that his great uncle was the first prime minister of Israel. Doesn't it sound some? And Kanye West read a more up-to-date list. This is from 2008. MGM, Chairman Harry Sloan, Jewish. NBC Universal Chief Executive Jeff Zucker, mega Jewish. If either of, and he went on to say something else, I didn't put the whole quotes here, but it goes on to say the Jews are so dominant, I had to scour the trades to come up with 6 Gentiles in high positions at entertainment companies. When I called them to talk about their incredible advancement, 5 of them refused to talk to me, apparently out of fear of insulting Jews. The 6th, AMC president Charlie Collier, turned out to be Jewish. The Jews are so dominant, I had to, oh, that's a duplicate right there. As a proud Jew, notice what it says here. As a proud Jew, he wasn't insulted. He wasn't saying that this is false information, that this is stereotypes. He says here, as a proud Jew, I want America to know about our accomplishment. Yes, we control Hollywood. Without us, you'd be flipping between the 700 Club and Davy and Goliath on TV all day. So I've taken it upon myself to reconvince America that Jews run Hollywood by launching a public relation campaign because that's what we do best. Wait a minute. Notice what he just said. Launching a public relation campaign because that's what we do best. I'm weighing several slogans, including Hollywood, more Jewish than ever. Hollywood, from the people who brought you the Bible. And Hollywood, if you enjoy TV and movies, then you probably like Jews after all. But yet, if any one of us say this, the label come out, the anti come out. And we'll deal with that another time. Actually, those who are watching for the first time, go look at the previous live I did last week, and I get into the word Semitic, giving you proper clarity on what the word Semitic is, the origins of it, how Semitic or Semite is a subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic community. That's what you will see when you Google it. You could Google it right now and you'll see it. That the Semitic is a subgroup of Afro-Asiatic. So every last one of us Negroes that been on those slave ships, guess what? Matter of fact, Afro-Asiatic, guess what? That's every Negro in the continent that came from the continent of Africa. Every dark-skinned Negro, whether you Shemitic or Hamitic, whatever, you're still Afro-Asiatic. So how can an Afro-Asiatic be anti-Afro-Asiatic? Anyway, does the other rabbinical Jewish literature promotes the worship of Satan? Are there any sources? Because we see Satan, right? We see that Ron is being ridiculed. He's labeled anti-Semitic for stating that, quoting another Jew, a prominent Jew, Harold Rosenthal, about the worship of Lucifer, the worship of Satan. Does Freemasonry promote Judaism? Excuse the typo. 2 Corinthians says this, and we'll get into it. No marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore, it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the minister of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works. So if Satan, if Hasatan how can I put it? If Satan and his ministers pretend to be messengers of light, this means they also have a doctrine. Let me say it again. If Hasatan and his ministers pretend to be messengers of life, this means they also have a doctrine. So what is the doctrine of Hasatan? Well, the doctrine of secret societies, the doctrine of Freemasonry. We could just clearly go into there. We could prove it here. So Satan disguises him as an angel of light or a messenger of light. So in Freemasonry, or in Masonry in general, the light is very important in their doctrine. Let me say that again. In Masonry, Freemasonry, regardless where you Prince Hall, whatever, the light is very important in their doctrine. If you understand Masonry, you'll understand the three lesser lights: the sun, the moon, and the master of the lodge, which is the worshipful master, right? I know some of you guys are saying, Pastor Kelly, why are you going here? Why are you going here? Well, we need to get clarity. We need to get some understanding here because we already used one Jewish source from a prominent Jewish person who is the assistant, the advisor for a senator, right? So that's to be in that position, you had to go through security clearances. You couldn't just come off the street and be put into that place, into that position, because guess what? You'll be handling security documentation. You'll be handling classified information. So you have to go through a security clearance, and they have to do all their checks and balances on you. So this person couldn't just come off the streets and be put in a position to be an advisor and assistant to a senator. So sun, moon, and the master of the lodge, the three lesser lights. What did the Hebrew Israelite Messiah say about calling someone master? When we go to Matthew 23, verse 8 through 10, I'm messing up tonight. My throat is dry. But be not ye called rabbi, for one is your master, even Christ, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father. Remember, the worshipful master, where I just pointed that out, one of the lesser lights. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your father, which is in heaven. Neither be ye called masters, for one is your master, even Christ. So he said, don't call anyone master, but yet in Freemasonry, the worshipful master. Call no man father, but yet we have rabbi. I'm not rabbis, but the Pope. Now, truth be told, we have to put it in its proper perspective, because all of us have fathers, a biological father. That's not what this means. This is saying, do not put a single person on the level of the Most High. And we see a lot of that happening right now. Many people are being placed on the level of the Most High. Don't give a single man, right, the same reverence that you would give the Most High. That's what it means. All right. But anyway, greatness is measured by service, not by earthly honor. Together we are brothers and sisters to one another. One is not above. That's what it means. That's basically what he's saying. One is not above or more exalted than another. Each stands as an equal before the Most High, Yahweh, and one another. So let's deal with the pillars of Freemasonry. Let's start with this guy here, Eliphas Levi and the Kabbalah by Robert L. Uziel. Let me see here, or Uziel. Do I have this book in here in my office? If I have this book in my office, yeah, I do. I'm going to show you this book real quick. I'm going to flash it on my screen because I'm showing you sources. I'm not just, talking about things. I have sources. I think I had this book on my desk. Just so happened I have it on my desk. Let me show you here. I got a few books on my desk. Didn't know it, right? Let me show my screen real quick, and I'll show this book to you guys. All right, let me show you here. All right. This book is what I'm referring to. Eliphas Levi and the Kabbalah. And he was the teacher to Albert Pike. Eliphas Levi and the Kabbalah. So I want to make sure you guys don't, no one, if someone is watching over this again, watching this on the replay, I don't want anyone to put anything out there stating that I'm making up stuff. Eliphas Levi and the Kabbalah, right? Now, this is a good book, have some good information in it. Ebos, right? Hebrew exiles from Israel. Amazing facts and revelations. Got some good information in it. I don't have Elder Remy, who's Ebo as well. I wish I had his book in front of me. I don't have it in front of me to show it to you guys. So I'm showing you that right now. And some of the other stuff I'm going to share with you comes out of these books right here. Right? I'm going to share with you right now, coming out of these books right here. Okay? Just want to make sure you guys understand that I'm showing sources. I'm not just, screen printing stuff from, just going to Google. I'm giving you actually sources, tangible sources that I have on my person. Okay? So let's put this back here. Let's see what Eliphas Levi had to say. All right. What is more absurd and more impious than to attribute the name of Lucifer to the devil, that is, to personified evil? The intellectual Lucifer is the spirit of intelligence and love, and is the paraclete, in other words, an advocate. It is the Holy Spirit, where the physical Lucifer is the great angel of universal magnetism. Universal is interchangeable with Catholic. Catholic means universal. It also means general. It means generic. Generic comes from the Proto-Indo-European word gene. Gene means begat. Anyway, so Wade Baskin's Dictionary of Satanism. Notice what this says. Eliphas Levi, French magician and author author of works on the occult. Eliphas Levi, whose real name is Alphonse Louis Constant, claimed to have summoned up the ghost of Apollonius of Tyana in London in 1854. Born in Paris about 1810, he is said to have been reincarnated as Aleister Crowley. A.E. Waite, the learned English occultic, said that Levi's doctrine and ritual contained the secrets of an occultic society into which Levi had been initiated from which he had been expelled, So Eliphas Levi created an image that is popular for all the wrong reasons. And this is the image right here. This is coming from an article by BBC, decoding the symbol on Satan's statues. And you see these being erected like in Oklahoma, I think one in Georgia, as well as one in Detroit, right? These statues, right? The name dates back to the Inquisition and torture of the Knights Templar about 1100 or the 11th century, who, according to French chronicler of the Crusades, confessed to worshiping a heathen idol called Baphomet. Some scholars believe Baphomet was simply a corruption of Muhammad, right? The prophet Muhammad. But over the years, as the mystery and speculation around the Templars has grown, so too have the interpretations of the word. The best known modern image of Baphomet was drawn by 1856 by the French occultist Eliphas Levi. In his book Transcendental Magic is Doctrine and Ritual. He emphasized a winged hermaphrodite with a torch between his horns and a pentagram on his forehead, right? Many don't know that the Baphomet is actually a hermaphrodite. Now, in here, you see it without the breast. Why? Because Levi's Baphomet was a hermaphrodite with breasts, but we took the breast off, says Greaves. The temple did not want to get embroiled in a debate about gender, which might distract from what it believes are the more, I guess, important information, whatever. I didn't put it all here, but going back here, this is that Baphomet. This is the original image, and know that it has breasts. Look at the arm position. Look at the head, right? Look at here. You'll see this is the star, right? If you put a line here, right? 1, 2, 3, right? 4. You could put lines here. You could connect the dot. Put a line here, right? And you'll have a star created here, which represents the star right here, right? You'll see the star right here. All right. But anyway, so this is the Baphomet. You can also refer to it as the goat demon. So one of the first Americans to come under the influence of Eliphas Levi was the noted Masonic writer Albert Pike. And Morals and Dogma revealed entire sections Pike took verbatim from the works of Levi. So the founder of Freemasonry, right? He really based it off of Judaism. He based it off the Kabbalah. Eliphas Levi was a heavy follower and practiced of the Kabbalah. He was into the Kabbalah. He was into Judaism. That's why you see he changed his name to Eliphas Levi. But anyway, Albert Pike. Let's see what Albert Pike says here. Lucifer, the light bearer, strange and mysterious, named to give to the spirit of darkness. Lucifer, the son of the morning, is it he who bears light? And with its splendors, intolerable blinds, feeble, sensual, or selfish souls. Doubt it not. That we must say to a crowd is we worship a God. And this is important, family, because instead of saying we worship God, it says we worship a God. They added what is called an indefinite article. Right now, they made it generic. We worship a God versus we worship God, because in the common popular consensus, the majority consensus, when you say God, you're referring to the Most High of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Father of Christ, right? We worship a God. So now we're dealing with a lesser God. We worship a God, or a generic term here. Now it's made it ambiguous. But it is the God that one adores without superstition. To you, Sovereign Grand Inspector General, we say this, that you may repeat it too. So they're saying that when from the outsiders looking in, say, yeah, we worship a God. So that way, when just them hearing you say we worship a God, they're not going to put 2 and 2 together to think that they won't suspect that you actually referring to Lucifer. That's why they said that we worship a God. That's why that term God is so general. It's so generic, because anyone in every religion is using the term. Who are you referring to when you say you believe in him? So we must say to a crowd, we worship a God. This is a statement based off of Gnosticism. And this is what Gnosticism is for those that don't know what Gnosticism is. This is coming from the Oxford Dictionary. It says here, a prominent heretical movement of the 2nd century Christian church, partly of pre-Christian origin. Gnostic doctrine taught that the world was created and ruled by a lesser divinity, the demiurge, and that Christ was an emissary of the remote supreme divine being. Esoteric knowledge, in other words, gnosis, of whom enabled the redemption of the human spirit. So this is referring to the Messiah, Christ, as a lesser deity, a demigod. That's basically what Gnosticism is. So when we get back to Albert Pike, right, he says this, the Masonic religion should be by all of us initiates of the high degrees maintained in the purity of the Luciferian doctrine. But notice what he says here. He's going to start getting into some other stuff. The sun And notice he's going to make reference to the Kabbalah. The sun represents the actual light. He pours upon the moon his fundating rays. Both shed their light upon the offsprings, the blazing star of Horus, and the three form of the great equilateral triangle, in the center of which is the omnific letter of the Kabbalah, by which creation is said to have been effected. Right? It goes on to say, right? He goes on to say this in that doctrine. He says, in the first three Persian Amshapans, Lord of light, fire, splendor, we recognize Aor or Zohar or Zayo, the splendor, the light, splendor, and brightness of the Kabbalah. He goes on to say, Masonry is a search after light. That search leads us directly back, as you see, to the Kabbalah and the ancient and little understood medley of absurdity and philosophy. The initiate will find the source of many. Right? Again, Masonry is a search after light. Remember, we talked about the light, right? Hasatan disguises himself as an angel of light. He has messengers. We just dealt with the three lesser lights, right? That search leads us directly back, as you see, to the Kabbalah. That's what he quoted. He goes on to say, Philo calls it the universal light, universalism, call it universal light, which loses a portion of its purity and splendor in the descending from the intellectual to the sensible word, manifesting itself outwardly from the deity. And the Kabbalah represents that only so much of the infinite light flowed into the circular void prepared for creation. All truly dogmatic religions have issues from the Kabbalah, Let me say it again. All truly dogmatic religions have issued from the Kabbalah and return to it. Everything scientific and grand in the religious dreams of all the Illuminati, Jacob Boehme, Swedenborg, St. Martin, and others is borrowed from the Kabbalah. All the Masonic associations owe to it their secrets and symbols. He's pointing to the Kabbalah, where they get all their secrets and symbols, right? Issue from the Kabbalah and return to it everything scientific and grand religious dream of the Illuminati, right? We could get into the Illuminati. I'm not going to go into too deep with this. Illuminati means enlightened, name of a secret society founded in 1776 in Ingolstadt, Bavaria, holding deistic and republic principles, all right? Illuminati of Bavaria, this is just giving you a little more information coming out of those sources that I held up on the screen. Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert Mackey, 33-degree Mason, Charles T. Mecklenach, or Mechanlachen, I'm butchering the name, 33-degree Mason. But anyway, this is what he says. It says, a secret society founded on May 1st, 1776 by Adam Weishaupt, who was professor of canon law at the University of Ingolstadt. Its founder at first called it the Order of the Perfectibilists, or whatever, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But he subsequently gave it the name by which it is now known, now universally known. Its professed object was by mutual assistance of its members to attain the highest possible degree of morality and virtue, and to lay the foundation for the reformation of the world by association of good men to oppose the progress of moral evil, to give to the order of a higher influence. Weishaupt connected it with Masonic institution. In its internal organization, the Order of Illuminati was divided into three great classes, namely the nursery, number 2, symbolic Freemasonry, number 3, the mysteries, each of which was subdivided into several degrees, making 10 in all, as in the following table. And this is what you see in the nursery: novice, minerval, illuminatus, minor. I'm not going to get into Minerval. I don't want to get into all this. So I encourage you guys to watch the lesson I did on Freemasonry, and I go into the fraternities and sororities, showing how They pay homage to the Shekinah or Shekinah and some other things. But anyway, if Lucifer were not God, would Adonai, or Adonai rather, whose deeds prove his cruelty and hatred of man, barbarism and repulsion for science, would Adonai and his priests culminate him? But here's the kicker. He says, yes, Lucifer is God, and unfortunately, Adonai is also God. For the eternal law is that there is no light without shade. I'm not going to get into all that. Let's see here. So you already see he's making it clear Albert Pike is a Freemason. You see how they make reference to the Kabbalah as far as Freemasonry. Albert Pike, the understudy of Eliphas Levi. And this is just giving you more information, showing you just how powerful, how many offices and position Albert Pike was in. Said Brother Pike was the sovereign commander, sovereign grand commander of the Southern Supreme Council. We see Scottish Rite, just giving all the different positions he held. All right. So we see the influence of Freemasonry on different religions. I'm not going to get into this, right? Let me fast forward because I know it's getting late, but we could talk about Charles T. Russell, right? He makes reference to it, right? You see in the Watchtower, January 19th, January 1920, page 2, you see how he's using the, now I can't think of the name of it. I just said their names. The Catholic secret group. I can't think of the names. The Knights Templar. I forgot I had it here. So that's the Knights of the Templar symbol right here. And not only do we see it there, guess what? We want to see it here. I'm just fast forwarding because for the sake of time. But notice what you see here: the Knights of the Templar symbol. This is Charles T. Smith, not Smith. Now I'm messing his name up now. Charles Tage Russell. This is his burial. Notice the pyramid, the Knights of the Templar. Notice the Masonic influence over it. But Jehovah's Witness will argue tooth and nail that he was not a Mason. But now let's get into this portion of it, family. This is getting into what I really wanted to set that up to. I want to share with you about Freemasonry, the Kabbalah. But now let's deal with the riding of the goat. Let's deal with this, right? Because Freemason teach about the riding of the goat. I'm not going to go into this, but I want to just fast forward because I want to get to a key area in the scriptures, right? In the scriptures, Leviticus chapter 17, verse 7, right? Many just celebrated Halloween, right? And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a whoring. This shall be a statute forever throughout their generations. So the Hebrew definition of devils, when we see here, it says shaggy, a he-goat, devil, goat, hairy kid, right? So here's some other translations of that same verse. This is the Message Bible. Notice it says goat demons no longer offer their sacrifices to goat demons, a kind of religious orgy. We go to the NIV, must no longer offer any of their sacrifices to the goat idols. So we saw goat demon, goat idols, still dealing with what? The Baphomet. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21 says this: and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch or Molech. Make a note of that. Neither shalt thou profane the name of Elohim or Elohim. Some of you guys would say Elohim. I am Yahweh. Some of you would say Yahuwah. But nevertheless, you guys get the gist of it. We see it's clear that there should not be any of our seeds. None of us should be acknowledging and worshiping and doing human sacrifice, all kinds of things. We should not be doing none of these things, right? So the goat demon, right? This is the Baphomet. This is the goat of Mendes. This is also Malak or Molech, right? But let's deal with the Hebrew definition. I'm going to give you a key source here to bring this home, right? The chief deity of the Ammonites, right? Now understand, also we know that Molech or Malak in ancient Hebrew transliterates to king. So we're dealing with loan words, but in the Ammonites, Molech was a deity, is someone that they worshiped, a object or a goat demon that they worshiped. But now we get into the nitty gritty. The Oxford Dictionary definition of the Jewish religion definition of Molech. Let's see what it says, right? And then we're going to go to another source. It says Semitic deity worshipped in biblical times, known from Ugaritic and Mesopotamia, sources as Malik. It is likely that Molech figures among the Chthonic gods, that is, those associated with death and the underworld. According to biblical tradition, Molech was worshipped by means of child sacrifice, a practice Israelite belief and law. But notice what it says here. Child sacrifice is condemned in the Bible without mention of the god Molech. Notice what they say here in this publication, this book, this source. Do I have this book in here? I left it in my other study place because I'll show you this book because I got this book in here. Yes, in my other office. All right. So it says here, child sacrifice is condemned in the Bible without mention of the god Molech. Now, why is it saying that? That's interesting, right? No more sacrifices unto devils. What does the Talmud, what does the other Jewish rabbinical literature, the Talmud, teach about Molech? Let's see what it says. The Sanhedrin 64a, this is what it says about Molech. He who gives his seed to Molech incurs no punishment unless he delivers it to Molech and causes it to pass through the fire. If he gave it to Molech, but did not cause it to pass through the fire or reverse, he incurs no penalty unless he does both, right? But then we see here, it says, right? We did what it said. The Mishnah teaches idolatry and giving to Molech. Then we have a discussion here. When you understand the Talmud, the best quote or the phrase to think about is the apparatic criticus, which basically is an example of this is Rabbi A say, Rabbi B say, Rabbi C say. And that's how the Talmud is read, right? But it says, our Mishnah is in accordance with the new view that Molech worship is not idolatry. Let me say that again. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. I'm giving you sources, family. Is this not a source? Right? Is this a Jewish publication? Is this coming directly out of the Talmud? Absolutely. I'm not making this up. Our Mishnah is in accordance with the view that Molech worship is not idolatry, for it has been taught, if one causes his seed to pass through the fire, whether to Molech or to any other idol, he is liable to death. Now, guess what? This is in the literature. Whether the individuals are practicing this or not, I can't say, but we do know we had a Jewish notable person stating that, talked about the worship of Satan, the worship of Lucifer, right? Howard Rosenthal. Now we see in the Sanhedrin 64a, it's giving us information about worshiping the goat demon. It says, our Mishnah is in accordance with the view that Molech worship is not idolatry, for it has been taught, if one causes his seed to pass through the fire, whether to Molech or to any other idol, he is not liable to death, right? Simeon said, if to Molech, he is liable. To another idol, he is not. So you see what's going on here, family? And so when you understand the Yule log, the word Yule is a Chaldee word for children or small child. So on Christmas, where you see that fireplace burning, that Yule, that log represents the child, right? We see that in the scriptures, how the children went and gathered the wood. They got a piece of wood and representation for them. You see child sacrifices that the Most High told Israel not to do. They participated in it. When you read Jeremiah chapter 7, Jeremiah chapter 10, Jeremiah chapter, I believe it's 42, either 42 or 44. So let's deal with Freemasonry. Let's get back here. God, G-O-D, who dealt with the goat demon, right? You see that it's in the Talmud saying that, about what it says about the worship of Molech. But it says this, going back here, God, God, the initials of Gomer Oz Dabar. It goes on to say it is a singular coincidence and worthy of thought that the letters composing the English name of deity should be the initials of the Hebrew word wisdom, strength, beauty, the three great pillars or metaphorical supports of Masonry. They seem to present almost the only reason that can reconcile a Mason to the use of the initial G and its conspicuous suspension in the east of the lodge and the place of the delta, right, which is also a female reproductive organ, which is also referred to as the yoni, right? That's another discussion when we deal with fraternities. And it says the incident seems to be more than an accident. They saying it's not just a coincidence. It's there by selection. It was purposely placed there. That letter G stands for Gomer Oz Dabar, right? Beauty, strength, wisdom. God, God, from a Freemasonry perspective, it's promoting the worship of Gomer. You can't get around it. This is to promote the worship of Gomer. Gomer Oz Dabar, the wisdom of Gomer. Freemasons promote the worship of Gomer. Why is this important to know? Genesis chapter 10, verse 2. Notice what it says here, right? The sons of Japheth, Gomer. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshach, Tyrus, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, right? Some of you guys are probably like, well, what does that mean? Why is that important? I'm not going to get into the Hebrew definition of Gomer, right? I don't need to get into all this. Why is this important to know? Right? Why is this important to know? Going right back here, as I said again, Ashkenaz, which is the son of Gomer. Gomer is the son of Japheth. So Ashkenaz is the grandson of Japheth, right? So I'll say again, Gomer is the father of Ashkenaz. 90% of the Jewish community, right, is descendant of who? Ashkenaz. That is just a fact. You can't get around it. Now, what does Ashkenaz mean? So just so that way no one thinks or accuse me of making anything up, this is coming from this article, Highlight. This is LA Times out of Khazaria, evidence for Jewish genome lacking, right? First is Aaron Elhick, and then I'll get to the article about Ashkenaz. Aaron Elhick, a geneticist at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, and a recent published study in genome biology, evolution, he is calling for a rewrite of commonly held assumption about Jewish ancestry. Instead of being primarily the descendants of the 12 tribes, present-day Jewish populations are, finds Elhick, primarily the children of a Turkish people who lived in what is now Russia, north of Georgia, east of Ukraine, the civilization, the Khazars, converted from tribal religions to Judaism between 7th and the 9th century. Right? That's what he says. That's what he points out. That's what he highlights. Another key point, right? This is coming from DNA Ties Ashkenazi Jews. And I'm going to show one more article again that I highlighted from last week, just so that way I give you more sources. DNA Ties Ashkenazi Jews to group of just 330 people from the Middle Ages. The Middle Ages, family. The Middle Ages, that period of the Middle Ages is from the 5th century to like the 12th century. All right. But anyway, DNA Ties Ashkenazi Jews to group of just 330 people from the Middle Ages. So says a new study in the journal Nature Communication. International team of scientists sequenced the complete genomes of 128 healthy Ashkenazi Jews and compared each of those sequences with the others, as well as with the DNA of 26 Flemish people from Belgium. Right. But notice what it says here. Right, their analysis allowed them to trace the genetic roots of this population to a founding group in the Middle Ages. Ashkenaz in Hebrew refers to Germany, and Ashkenazi Jews are those who originated in Eastern Europe. So notice what it says. Ashkenaz refers to Germany. Ashkenazi Jews refers to the people that originated in Eastern Europe, right? Before we get to that, I got to show one more source. Let me show one more source, and then we're getting close to here, and I'll drop the link inside the comment section. Let me show you one more source, because I can't just leave you hanging on this. Since I'm already here, I want to bring up a source from the Forward. The Forward is a Jewish publication, right? That was founded in 1890, right? It's all about the support of the Jewish community. But I'm going to show you just one section here. Let me make sure this is the right section I want to give. Let me make sure this is correct. Yeah, this is the one I want. Let me get this in here. All right. I got to drop sources, family. I was going to not touch on this for the sake of time, but since we're here, I have to touch on it because I don't want to leave you guys hanging since we're already here. So let's go into this article. Then we'll get into the Nature Communication article that was referenced in the LA Times, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, we'll wrap it up, and we'll let you give your vote on whether or not Ron Dalton, did the writer of this Rolling Stones magazine or Rolling Stones online publication, was he honest with his assessment? Did he actually read Ron Dalton's book? And if he did read it, was he being very deceptive? We just have to call it what it is. We have to ask those questions. Because so far, and I didn't go through the whole article yet. We still got more to go through. We're not going to do it tonight. But so far, I proved to you that Ron Dalton was not being deceptive. He showed the sources. But the writer gave the impression that Ron Dalton did not source up. So let's go here. The Forward. Can 23andMe tell us if Jews are a race, and is that a good thing? Ari Feldman, July 30th, 2017. Now, notice what it says here. I'm just not doing the whole article because just for the sake of time, I'll copy this into the comment section so that way you guys can look at it at your leisure. Again, if anyone want to call me a name and say, hey, using poor sources, that's up to you. But I'm giving you sources from the Jewish community, right? This is not me making up anything. I'm showing you sources, right? And I was going to go into some of the New York Times articles about some different articles about the situation in Ukraine back in the early part of the 19th century, the 20th century, right? But I'm not going to get into that for the sake of time. We'll do that another time. But I just want to read this real quick. Let's get into it. All right. It says this: Ashkenazi Jews often find themselves in a peculiar situation of being 90% Ashkenazi Jewish and 99% European, right? So it's saying that the Ashkenazi Jews are 99% European, 90% Ashkenazic, in other words, originating in Germany, but another portion could be in another outside of Germany, whether it's Ukraine, Russia, Romania, whatever. But it's saying, it says Ashkenazi Jews often find themselves in the peculiar situation. So on the average, they were seeing their results, 90% Ashkenazi Jew and 99% European. Sephardic Jews may be told that they are mostly Middle Eastern and North African and less than 10% Ashkenazic, right? Stuart Schaffman, I'm not going to get into reading all of this here, but he did his test here, and he was one of the highlights of the article, said he brought a kid from 23andMe because even though his family insists they're exclusively Jewish, he thought there was a possibility that he had some non-Jewish ancestry. I was curious, this is his quote, because you never know, Schaffman said. Family stories are just stories. Schaffman, who learned that he is 99.8% Ashkenazi Jewish. Now, this is saying he's 99.8% European. said the test hasn't made much of a difference on his sense of Jewish identity. Why? Because he says Judaism really informed who I am. So even though his DNA tells him that he is almost 100% European, he says Judaism, right, really informed him of his identity. He says, in my values and my worldviews. Schaufman said, 23andMe hasn't made me more or less Jewy at all. I'm just Jewy. However, Schaufman added, he's Jewy and white. While other Jews, Sephardic Jews, Ethiopian Jews, can't claim that distinction. He's an ethnic minority, but a white one nonetheless. Here's the kicker. I get all the privileges. I get all the benefits of white privilege. I get all the benefits of white privilege. This is what he stated. So being a Semitic, right, which is a subgroup of Afro-Asiatic. So when you say that you're Semitic or Shemitic, that's saying that you are that you are an Afro-Asiatic. But Schaufman said that he gets the best of both worlds because his DNA showed that he's basically 100% European. So he gets the best of both worlds, Afro-Asiatic, as well as being a Caucasian, right? The best of both worlds. All right. So back to that LA Times there. This is where they got the reference from. They talked about the 338, Jews that was pointed, and they were able to narrow them down to coming out of the German area, right? This is what they were referring to, right? I'll drop the link if it's not too long, and I'm not going to read all of this, but this is just bearing witness to what you just saw here. In a nutshell, it says 350. The article said 330, but it says 350. It narrowed it down to 350 people. And then when you see Khazaria.com, you see some of the additional information here. But notice what it says here. This is Khazaria.com dealing with DNA. But let's see what it touches on when it comes to E, right? Notice what it says with E, and it says E and J haplogroups have Middle Eastern origins. What does you guys that are watching, that have done your DNA, especially if you melanated, what does your Y mutation, your Y haplogroup, what is your Y haplogroup? What does it point to? Does it point to E, J? Because it says Middle Eastern, which is Northeast Africa. All right. So with that being said, family, I know I gave a lot of information. I know I gave a lot of information, right? I'm going to drop the link if Benea is still up, right? I know that this is a lot to cover, right? I know it's a lot to cover. Can't squeeze it all into one, but I'm going to let you guys be the judge and jury. I'm going to let you guys form your own thoughts, right? Because according to public opinion, Kanye West is guilty. According to public opinion, Kyrie Irving is guilty. According to public opinion, by way of the Rolling Stones, Ron Dalton is guilty. But the question is, what does the fact state that I just presented to you? What is the facts? What did I present to you? I got more sources I can share with you guys, but just for the sake of time, I want to just kind of save some time here. What does the information I presented to you, does this make me or anyone anti-Semitic when I am an Afro-Asiatic and Semitic comes from? Oh, come on now. How can you be? In the courts, it would not stand up. Why? Here's the court case. I'm wrapping it up. Shari Tefillah congregation versus Cobbs. This is a Jewish congregation, a synagogue that was vandalized by a Caucasian, right? It says after their synagogue was painted with anti-Semitic slogans, phrases, and symbols, petitioners brought suit in federal district court, right? Alleging that the desecration by respondent violated 42. This is just dealing with the statute. The district court dismissed petitioner's claim. The Court of Appeals affirmed holding that discrimination against Jews is not racial discriminated under the statute. So what they're saying is, when this synagogue brought their charges, right? They went to court. They charged this white guy with vandalism, and they wanted to make sure it fell under discrimination, racial, right? They can't use anti-Semitism, right? That's a whole nother argument. But notice here, the reason why, and I'm going to show you why, because here it's using racial, because they use anti-Semitism. How can they be anti-Semitism when we point out one key thing that this Supreme Court case points out? And I'm going to show you why. Because it says it's not racial discrimination. So if you're dealing with anti-Semitism, what are you dealing with? Right? You can, especially if you're dealing with a certain group of people. And I'm going to show you that. I don't want to let the cat out the bag yet for those watching for the first time. A charge of racial discrimination within the meaning of this statute cannot be made out by alleging only that the defendant were motivated by racial animus. In other words, being the skin color. You can't just say, I'm suing because this person just did something to me based upon skin complexion. And this is why they said it to this synagogue. This is why. And I'm going to show you why. Let's go here. Jews can state a claim of racial discrimination since they were among the people considered to be distinct races, and hence within the protection of the statute at the time it was passed. Because they said initially they considered that the Jewish community was to be a distinct race. But notice what they say here. It says the statute at the time it was passed. At that time, 1982, they were referring to the Jewish community as a race. They are not foreclosed from stating a cause of action simply because the defendants are also part of what today is considered the Caucasian race. So they're saying that, wait a minute, we cannot allow you to press charges of racism because the defendant and the plaintiff are both Caucasians. The Supreme Court recognized the Jewish community as being Caucasians. So a white person cannot sue another white person for racism, nor could a white person, right, a Jewish person, sue in the court of law another white person for anti-Semitism, right? Because Semitism, that means that's saying that person that the Jew the Jewish people that's falling against this Caucasian, right? They're saying that, wait a minute, you're Caucasian, you're white, which means that you can't sue him for that because you both are white. You can't sue this person for a white person for being anti. And the question is, did this court case recognize them as being Semites? Oh, anyway, that's something for you to think about. It says, in a nutshell, it's saying that two white people cannot sue two white people for racism, just like two black people cannot sue two black people for racism. That's what this says right here. No matter how you slice and dice it, that's what this court case is saying right here. People within the same race cannot sue each other. Now, if you anti your own group of people, then that means you got a mental issue. You got some issues going on if you anti-self. So Justice White delivered the opinion of the court. We agree with petitioners, however, that the Court of Appeals erred in holding Jews cannot state a claim against other white defendants. So it's saying, even though they're part of the same race, doesn't mean that they cannot state a claim, but it's not for racism, right? It's for hate crimes. The hate crime laws highlights vandalism or trying to hinder someone of freedom of religion, practicing or congregating. That's in the hate crime laws. That view rested on the notion that because Jews today are not thought to be members of a separate race. Wait a minute, this is Supreme Court, I didn't write this, saying that the Jews today are not thought to be members of a separate race. Why? Because according to the court system, the judicial system, regardless of what Donald Trump tried to declare, he don't have power over the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, by law, that's why they're a separate group. The Jewish community are not thought to be a separate race. They are referred to as being Caucasians. They are part of the white race. They cannot make a claim out of racial discrimination. Oh, wait a minute. So they could not sue another white person out of racial discrimination. So what could they sue him with? Dealing with hate crime. And it gives some more case, another case reference here. Right? Let me see here. The question before us is not whether Jews are considered to be a separate race by today's standards, but whether at the time this statute in 1982 was adopted, Jews constituted a group of people that Congress intended to protect. It is evident from the legislative history of the section, and it gives you another case here, reviewed by St. Francis College, a view that we need not repeat here. The Jews and Arabs were among people then considered to be distinct races, then considered to be distinct races, and hence within protection of the statute. Wasn't just the Jews, it says Arabs. Anyway, but it says Jews are not foreclosed from stating a cause of action against other members of what today is considered to be part of the Caucasian race. So it says that, guess what? They can't pull the race card. Really, they can't pull the anti-Semitic card against another Caucasian. Why? I just explained to you. Because again, as they said here, Jews are not foreclosed from stating a cause against action against other members of what today is considered to be part of the Caucasian race. Jews are not foreclosed from stating a cause of action against other members. So it's letting you know legally that the Jewish community falls up under the white race, and they cannot sue another white group with racism. Anyway, family, I hope this helps you. I know I gave you a lot of information. I'm up later than what I had anticipated on. I'm going to drop this link here. If any of my people still up here, I'll drop it in here for a brief moment. Family, I know I gave you a mouthful. Gave you a mouthful. So as we get ready to wrap up, I want to make this clear. This lesson is not about attacking any person or going personal on someone. And no, it's not about that. We're dealing strictly with doctrine. Unfortunately, because of the way things are, the way that the media has presented things, the public opinion, social media, unfortunately, people are going off of what is being said, but not what's actually facts. Going off what is said, but not actual facts. All right, let me see who is here real quick before we wrap up. Let's see here. Peace and blessings. How are you?
Hey, good evening. I saw you earlier on Teo and Yakova's show when they were talking about this earlier. So I just happened to be, I wasn't expecting to see your show online tonight, but I'm happy I did because, everything that you're saying, as we both know, the devil is the father of lies. And the reason why this is such a big deal is because it's the truth, and the devil hates the truth, and they just want to suppress it. But the more they try to suppress it, the more it's coming to the light.
And the key is, this is where we have to, as a people, we have to learn, we have to get to a place of not majoring in the minors and get right straight to what is the bigger picture. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, for me, the discussion is not about Kanye West. It's not about Kyrie Irving. It's about the other argument that's not, that's kind of like being tossed out there that no one is really touching on, is what about us? Who are we? If we show proof that we are the people of the book, now we're being ridiculed and being a hate group. And sometimes we
Right.
can lose, we can miss that point because we're focusing on, well, Kanye said that he was a devil worshiper. Well, Kanye said that he was this. Kanye said he was that. Well, Kyrie said he was this. I'm not caught up in that stuff. Let's get to the bigger picture.
Right. And so just because of the attention they're getting is bringing attention to the bigger issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now the funny thing is, I tell people, and you mentioned it a little bit in your document here, is all you got to do is go to Genesis 10, the Table of Nations, and you'll see that the Ashkenaz are not descendants of Abraham. So the funny thing is, the world has made people believe that the Arab people are the bad guys, but they're actually true descendants of Abraham, where the Ashkenaz are not.
Well, for me, if you could turn down your volume a little bit, because I'm getting an echo when I speak. So if you could turn your mic down a little bit. Yeah. For me, when I look at the transatlantic world war, for me, all those people, religious systems enslaved our people. It was Islam prior to the transatlantic world war. You had the sub-Saharan slave trade, or the Arabic slave trade, enslaved our people. That was like the precursor, given the playbook to transitioning to being scattered across the four corners of this earth. So for me, when we look at it, and especially when we start getting into the fullness of it, I could bring sources up about when we start dealing with Arab, right? Because we can pull up Turks. I got sources that show that many what we would call Arabs are descendants of Turks, right? So when you start studying ancient history, it was nothing. It's not a new thing to where you have one ethnic group of people ruling over another ethnic group of people, because they conquered each other. They would conquer, and then that group will be over a whole entire group of people. Like when you study the pyramids, I believe either the first or second dynasty, they saw two sets of people there, and one set of the people were the Sumerians, right? Because they had conquered that dynasty. So I'm just using that as an example. But for me, again, I'm just focusing on our people, quite honestly, because we have to get out of this religion. We've been slapped with religion for so long that it's hard for us to get out of religion. If we get out of religion and just look at the facts for what it is, then we can actually have more of a clearer mind with how we approach history.
And that's why I tell people from my Bible study, etc., you need to just like when they talk about with computers, you need to defrag your mind, and you need to go back to basics of the book and stop. I don't want to make it sound like all churches or all pastors are bad. I'm just saying they need to defrag and go back to restudying and re-looking at the word, at the scriptures.
Absolutely. You're a geek, man. Come on, man. We geeks are us, man. You said defrag, you bring them back. I thought you were going to start talking about scan disk and all kinds of stuff. Hey, I started out in DOS, man. When you start bringing up defrag, I'm like, hey, wait a minute. F disk. I'm waiting for you to say F disk and all kinds of stuff, man. Hey, but I really appreciate your input. We're going to bring a couple of others in real quick, but any other final things that you want to share before we bring someone else in?
No, all I'll say is keep doing what you're doing. I may not be doing as much as you do, but me and others, whatever we do, it's all a start, and we're all looking to get to the bigger picture. Absolutely.
Hey, I appreciate you jumping on, and we'll be doing this next this upcoming Shabbat. Feel free to jump on, and we're going to continue this lesson moving forward, because there's a lot more that meat, like my grandmother would say, you left some meat on that bone. So I left a lot of meat on the bone that I need to get off, right? But I really appreciate you jumping in, and again, feel free to be ready for the next time we do this. Okay.
Amen, Pastor.
Amen. Love you, man. Talk to you later.
Love you too.
All right. Let me bring in. I got Apostle. Let's see here. Let me take Fast Nickel out of here. All right. I'm gonna bring my buddy Moxie on here. I got Apostle here. Let's do this. Let me bring Moxie in real quick. There you go. Let me bring Moxie in. And let me bring Brian Dial or Dial. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And lastly, I think I see JW here. So what I'm gonna do, Moxie, I'm gonna let JW and Brian go first, and then you and I and Apostle Lewis will bring it home. I thought I saw my cousin Benea here, but he jumped off. So I'm gonna start with you, JW. How you doing, my brother?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. It's nice to meet you. To find your page, I just wanted to hop on real quick and say thank you. You know, I'm gonna definitely stay tuned in and start supporting. It's a breath of fresh air to see, see somebody go in depth and like you said, not just take what's being said, because a lot of people are just going on headlines and just stuff that's flashing before them, and they don't really have an idea of really what has been said. And so I appreciate your investigation on that article, the whole story that broke about Kyrie and about Ron Dalton and his sources and all that. So just much respect. I think the problem that we have is just we as a human species, I hate to say it like this, but we're just dumb. I don't know if we were always like this or if this is a more modern thing to us being humans, but we're just dumb. And the most regular Jewish people, they don't even know none of this. It's like the same way that the average Christian doesn't really read the word, doesn't really know the word. They just know the stories, they know the traditions, and that's it. It's not until we come into the truth, or we really seeking the truth and seeking God for real, that the truth gets revealed to us. So I just think with Ye and with just the us as period, I see a lot of people like Jewish people this, Jewish people that. From what I read in the Bible, whether we be Israelites or not, we called to love even our enemy. You know what I'm saying, and to be a reflection of God. So, wasting our time hating on something, I think that's a waste of our time. The more we come together and love each other and get past, like you said, the minors and stick to the majors, which the major is, we should be there for each other. But yeah, I just think, hating on anybody's time, but it's funny that the Jewish people, like, sometimes I'll be wearing, not really. They don't really have a history of who they are. They don't get taught the stuff that you just ran over right now, like tonight, and the stuff that you obviously you teach all the time. The average Jewish person actually is atheist. They don't even believe in God. So it's just all tradition for them. And so the whole, fake victim and, people are being racist against me. That's just, we know what that is. So, but, I talk too much, but I appreciate you, brother.
Oh man, you ain't talk too much, but I definitely appreciate the support, and we're going to keep having these discussions because these are the real things we should be talking about. This is the stuff we should be calling to the floor, without making it ugly, without making it nasty. Hey, I just got a simple question. If they want to have anyone from like a rabbi, whatever, if they want to have a conversation, I don't have a problem with having a conversation and having dialogue, but it should never be to the point of what we see today. My reputation should not be shattered over someone's accusation. And as we went through that article, just a little bit I covered proved that writer had an agenda because he said things that was not accurate.
No, for sure. But the average person, not even the average, 90% of people, they're not going to do what you did. They're not even going to be up listening to you, So it's kind of discouraging, but at the same time, I don't think we should be surprised or be scratching our heads at all at anything that takes place from here on out. I mean, that ever happened, but whether it be the Israelites and the truth coming to full knowledge or whatever it may be, you know, we could get to a point in a couple of years from now where white people just wave their hands up and say, damn, y'all the Israelites, you know what I'm saying? Have mercy on us. I expect anything, like, so none of this surprises me. None of it shocks me. I kind of just get a kick out of just sit back and watching God do what he do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, my brother, I really appreciate it. What we're doing is this weekend, and feel free to be available. And if you want to jump in and share some thoughts or whatever, or if you have a topic you want me to cover, feel free to reach out to me. Shoot me an email. My email is in the banner. Feel free to reach out, and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Much love to everybody out there.
All right. Have a great night. Love you, man.
Yeah, love you too. Have a good one.
All right. All right, Brian Dial, you still there?
Yeah, yes. Can you hear me, Pastor Kelly?
Yes, sir.
Shalom, family. Shalom, Pastor Kelly. I would like to say, that's just a couple of quick points I wanted to make. Our scriptures, our history book, which we call the Bible, it says our people perish for lack of knowledge. And we have been perishing. But it also states, study to show thyself approved. And what you did today, I've been watching you for years, Tail Ministries, Dante, as well as the late Pastor Darby. But what you did today, and what you always do, is the way our scriptures tell us to study is precept, as Isaiah, I don't know the exact chapter and verse, but precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And this cannot be refuted, none whatsoever. This is facts. You can't refute a fact. And what you put out is facts. It's there. And nobody can go against it. This is something that no one can go against. And one other thing I wanted to state, as far as Kanye, Kyrie, I've heard Tiffany Haddish, I've heard, I think it's Deshaun Jackson, several other of our people who are in the entertainment industry, basically, state certain things as far as us being, Israelites. And, but we, as a community, a lot of times what we do is we will take and look at their life and say, well, they're not measuring up and they're not this and that, this and that. Well, I came into the knowledge back in 2007, 2008, but I'm 54 years old, 33 years being a network engineer. I was
okay. I can hear that geek in you, man. I hear it in you.
I was actually awoken, well, not awoken, but first presented with this when I was 17 through my mother. Now, it seemed like I would have, but I was a young cat, so at that time I wasn't, really thinking about that. Okay, whatever, Mom, that's what I'm saying. But the person who woke me up, now I don't follow him. I don't adhere to any of his theory and his religious beliefs. But in 2007, 2008, around that time, I was on YouTube and I listened to Savior's Day by Louis Farrakhan. And he started talking about the Ish people. And it shocked me so bad. I was stuck. I was like, everything is a lie. So I cried, 30-something years old, crying, and told my mom. She was like, leave me alone. Let me go to bed. I told you that when you were 17. I stayed up for 3 days. So basically just studying, and I've been on this track ever since. But I said that to say this, the Most High used the donkey in the scriptures. So therefore, we can't just say whom the Most High is using. In my case, I know who my Lord and Savior is, Yahshua HaMashiach. And, I know the Most High, Yahuwah, all of that. And basically, we cannot just throw the baby out with the bathwater. We can't just dismiss how people just dismiss what Kanye, Kyrie, and other people have said. We can't just say whom the Most High is using. He said, my thoughts is not your thoughts. My ways is not your ways. That's all I want to say, Pat.
Absolutely. Hey, my brother, I really appreciate it. And thank you for the love and support. And we'll be doing this this weekend. More than likely be either Friday night or Saturday night. I'll put a post up ahead of time. So thank you for tuning in. We have Apostle Lewis and my main man Moxie in the building. First, hey, how you doing, Apostle? Want to give props to the elder that's here.
Shalom, Pastor Kelly, and to everyone on the panel. Can you hear me well?
Absolutely. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I've been under the weather, man. I'm still getting over this flu, but when I saw you came on, I said, man, I got to get up because I can't miss this one. And Pastor Kelly, you know, I always tell you and thank you for what you're doing, but tonight you not only knocked it out the ballpark, you knocked it out of 2 ballparks, and you proved that this reporter was just making up stuff on Brother Ron. So I am so thankful how you broke everything down. And I hope and pray that the reporter and many others could get this live tonight, because you did an awesome job. So, brother, we happy to have you as a pastor in Israel. And I just thank God for your ministry.
Oh, I appreciate you, Apostle. And tell everyone about your YouTube channel. Tell them about your ministry, of how they can locate you. And before you do that, let me give some shout outs to Carol Gordon. Thank you for the contribution. The enemy calls us loving. The enemy calls us loving and edifying each other, wanting our people to be in the know. Call it hate. Like ye said, I'm jealous. We don't have it going on in our community like they do. It's not about hating them. So thank you again, Sister Gordon. Really appreciate the love, support, and family. Let's show some love for Sister Carol here. And actually, I think if I remember correctly, she came through Moxie, right? I think she was a follower of you, Moxie. And when you brought me on your channel, you introduced some of the people to me. I really appreciate it. But appreciate you, Sister Carol. Thank you again. All right. I'm going to open it up to you, Apostle. Can you tell the people how to reach out to you?
Yes, sir. Sure. You can. I just put my link in the private chat, and I don't know if you can take it and put it in there or not. But I put my link in the private chat, or they can go to YouTube and just type in Apostle Curtis Lewis, and I spell Lewis Louis, and just subscribe, and we would certainly appreciate it. We teach the word, and you know pretty much what we're doing over there. So I appreciate you saying something about it.
I appreciate it, Apostle. And family, I just put his link there. Let's get Apostle up to 1,000 subscribers. Let's support him. He's really laboring. He's standing in the gap for us big time, more than what you guys can ever imagine. But I appreciate you, Apostle. And if you feel like saying something as we continue, feel free to do so. But I know that you're feeling under the weather, and we're going to continue to pray your strength, get you some rest, because you know how we do. We'll still go even in the midst of rest.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna get off, and I'm gonna go get some rest. But I just want to say that I thank God for Brother Benayah Israel. I heard him today, and I just want to say, you know what? That's enough. We're not afraid anymore. We're gonna stand, and I thank the Most High for Ron Dalton and the great work he's doing. And Pastor Kelly, again, I want to say thanks to you.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Apostle. And I'll be reaching out to you within the next couple of days for sure. I'll give you a call.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Love you. All right. My boy, my man, Moxie. And I got my cousin, Benaya, here. So, Moxie, I know you, you talked earlier. We talk all the time. Yeah. But what are your thoughts tonight?
Yeah, I'm not going to keep it that long, because I know it got kind of late. I just want to, we talk behind the scenes a lot. I just want to say, though, in front of everybody, thank you, man. You are on the front line, even more than myself, because, on my page, I do a little bit of this, but a lot of entertaining, making people laugh. But we need those people on the front line, because not to make this sound scary or more serious than what it is, but this is one of the most serious topics of our time and era. And, from my interpretation of what I read in Revelations and things, that this topic leads to a lot. And I don't know if everybody realized that. So I appreciate, you stepping out on the front line of this, because I really do think, us creators that talk these kind of topics, I feel like we will be a target soon one day too. And you got to have no fear. And that's what you express with this stream and the teaching that you've done. I'm proud that we have ran into each other in this life. I'm proud of all the times you came on my channel, and I just appreciate you, man. This is a great live stream, just like the other live streams that you do. You are a great teacher, and we need to, and everybody watching this, please share this stream, because we're in an era right now where we really need to be educating each other on who we are, and we're in the midst of a big war where they don't, want us to even know that or realize who we are, and not to focus on the negativity. You even see some of the people in the comment section that are changing the words of the Bible to that it says that Jesus was white in the Bible. It doesn't say that in the Bible, but it just gives you, more credence to the fact that they don't even want us aligning ourselves with this. Like, they're trying to make that in itself be anti-Semitic. So, or AS. I don't even like using that word, AS. But I appreciate you. That's why I pretty much mainly came to say on here. I want to get you back on my page for us to finish our Freemason trilogy. You know what I mean? But I just want to come and give you your flowers, man. Doing a great job, man.
Hey, I appreciate it, Moxie. And I'll put your link to your YouTube channel inside the comment section. But tell the people about your channel, how to reach you. And because we got to get Moxie to 20,000 subscribers. And I tell you, he'll tell you, me and him, we had discussions. It's been over a year now, man, since we talked offline, man, initially. And he encouraged me. And I was being shadow banned. Numbers wasn't going anywhere. And then all of a sudden, a year later, it's like quadrupled, huh?
Yeah, it quadrupled. They just took my shadow ban off. They shadow banned me for 4 months. They just took my shadow ban off this last 2 weeks from talking about nonsense. That's how they do on my page. I start talking about nonsense, they'll throw it up there. But yeah, man, I ever since I ran across your page, man, I've been a supporter. And yeah, man, I like how you fought through that. You kept uploading. Yeah, you grew, man. And this is your time too, man. This is we need you, Pastor Kelly. This is your time. Any kind of free time you have to come and do these live streams and, educate us is very appreciative, and we need you, man. So I just wanted to come and tell you that. My name is Moxie. My page goes by Moxie Approved. I definitely don't go in as depth as Pastor Kelly. I do a little bit of comedy on my page. I do education too, but it's mostly surrounded by entertainment, So yeah, if y'all like to laugh, but also like to talk about stuff like this while laughing, I do a little bit of trolling on there. Please subscribe. But yeah, man, with topics like this, I'm always about supporting people such as yourself, man, because we need to be on that front line. Because now it's the time. It's that time. And I don't think that this topic will be going away anytime soon. The fire may be out for a minute, just like someone mentioned earlier. They did Deshaun Jackson like this last year from posting up something like this. He just got back into the NFL now. He just signed last week. So they don't want us even aligning with this,
Absolutely. You hit it right on the nail. And you didn't tell the people about your comedy. You say you tell jokes, but let the people know a little bit about your comedic experience just a little bit, because I'm not gonna put you on the spot. Hey, you a comedian? Tell me a joke. I'm sure you hear that all the time, right?
Yeah, I do. I'm not gonna lie to you. In this last 6 months, I've had to change certain kind of jokes because, this stuff. I do stand-up comedy. Doing it in New York and LA. I've been doing it for a few years. I don't headline as much as I used to because of the kind of the jokes that I tell. You know what I mean? And I always put my premises. If any of y'all know about stand-up comedy, you have the premises and then you have the punchlines. My premises I related to some of these topics like that. And, I'm more of a Dave Chappelle type comedian where I have different layers to it. And yeah, Hollywood has depicted my jokes and they know what I'm talking about. Though I don't put it in there in the face, they have mastered that whole subliminal messaging and stuff like that, which I do, with my comedy. I have a joke about invasive species that I think they broken down to mean about Jews, and I had to stop telling that joke. You know what I mean? But yeah, I do stand-up comedy. I go around the country here and there and do it, but I've been focusing a lot on YouTube now because you can reach more people at one time. And though they can take that away too, they got these community guidelines, and if you follow that, supposedly they're not supposed to take you down. So I've been putting a lot of energy into that. But yes, my main thing is stand-up comedy.
All right, really appreciate it, man. Thank you for the love and support. And I want to give shout outs to RCLM 20. Actually, that's the contribution. I thought that was part of his tag. But thank you, my brother, for the love and support, family. Let's show RCLM love and support for the contributions. Really appreciate you. And family, subscribe to Moxie's channel. Right? Let's get him to 20,000. Let's help his algorithms. Let's, whenever he do a post or do a live, we get him to at least 100 likes, because that does help reset the algorithms. The more videos he posts that have 100 plus likes, that does a lot to the algorithms. But really appreciate you, Moxie. You gonna say something else?
No, I was gonna say I appreciate you. You shared my Malcolm X picture today. It's the first time I got 1,000 likes on the picture. That's from you. I appreciate you, man. I never got 1,000 likes on a community post. You got me there, man. I appreciate you.
Oh, hey, we're in this together, man. And I appreciate you. I'm gonna bring my cousin on because he's been sitting here. But Moxie, let's connect before the weekend is out, okay?
Yeah, I'll hit you up.
Let's get you on here and me come back on your show so that way we could do some stuff.
I'm gonna call you.
All right. Hey, give me a holler. Appreciate you. All right.
Peace and shalom.
All right. Shalom.
Oh, peace and blessings, Pastor Kelly, man. You knocked it out the park today, man.
Oh, real quick, Nan, let me just give Apostle Curtis rather. I want to say thank you, Apostle Curtis, for the contribution. Really appreciate you, and family, again, support Apostle Curtis as well. Let's get him to 1,000 subscribers. Oh, he said the link that he shared was wrong. Let me give you guys the correct link real quick, and I'm gonna post the correct link. But I'm listening to you, cuz I'm gonna go ahead and put Apostle Curry's link in. But appreciate you, cuz I didn't know you did a live earlier.
No, it wasn't a live. I just did a quick post.
Oh, okay.
Like I told you, now that I have my main computer back online, I can kind of.
Oh, you was just kind of testing it out.
Yeah. I could say, I could push my videos now. Okay, so you all were talking about shadow ban. I was like, man, how do you get that lifted? Please send me the cliff notes on that. But yeah, now I just want to echo the sentiment of everyone else that's kind of went before me. That it's an excellent presentation. I mean, you've done what you've always done, and that is, you go into great detail into these topics. And I don't know if folks on the live realize, but the importance of this presentation has to do with the foundation of the lie, right? So the foundation of the story, and you touched on this Pastor Kelly in your presentation. So the foundation was the Rolling Stones article. Like that was the springboard to everything else. Like when you see stuff, all the stuff that you saw on ESPN, CNN, MSNBC, all these other mainstream outlets, they all reference that Rolling Stones article, right? And when you took apart all the talking points of the Rolling Stones article, all of the other stuff just falls away, right? And I mean, you've done one of the things that I appreciate, folks that get into these lessons do, and that is you use their own references against them. I can't tell you how many times that you've pulled, the Jewish references to show, whether it be rabbis or someone else, to show that, this information is known, like this information is in their own circles. But for whatever reason, if a black person says the same information, we get vilified and, demonified or whatever you want to call it. But when you flip the script and you put their own information in front of them, they can't argue with it. And so that's what makes this so powerful. That's what, is going to make this so difficult for them to deal with. Usually if it's like one or two references, they'll say, "Oh, that's a safe self-hating Jew." He's that's where that's where that reference comes from. But when it's reference after reference after reference after reference, they can't say anything against it. So excellent job, cuz. Like I said, I won't keep you long. I know it's late, but just wanted to just share my sentiments that this was an excellent presentation, and they're going to have a hard time dealing with it. And it's my hope is that this eventually leads to some accountability. You can't throw out all these lies. I mean, I watched, just like you, I kind of saw the Shannon Sharp stuff, and I saw some of these other articles that they keep coming, right? They keep coming, and that's how they're trying to overwhelm the America at large with this information and with these lies, so that when the truth comes out, in the form of a YouTube video of all things, good luck in getting that truth out. And that's what where the importance of what our brothers were talking about, as far as sharing this with as many people as you can, fam. You have to share this with as many people as you can, so that this thing can go viral. And most high willing, this will counter that, start to counter that narrative that's out there.
Absolutely, because and you and I talked offline earlier today, but it really bothered me. It's like, man, you know what, this guy, let me go and let me purchase Ron's book, and let me go and see exactly what this guy is saying. And because when you go to chapter 4, and I just listed a little of it, but Ron has nothing but sources listed there. Nothing but sources. He went straight geek mode.
Yeah.
And for this person to give this this deception, to lie as if Ron was just making stuff up. And I'm like, wait a minute, he gave sources. And even the source one of the sources we highlighted, because to your point, they will always say, if it's someone that's from within their community, if they say something contrary, then something is wrong with them. They're hating themselves. They got agendas and all this. But this person was a person that was right up under a senator. Very reputable. I mean, even that PDF, that the link I was trying to drop, I'll put it in the description once we conclude. But it's in the Reagan Library, President Reagan online archives.
Yeah, and one thing I will say, and this is a shout out to Ron, and that is, he has this this nickname of being the human encyclopedia, and the reason why he's had that, and I know, I bet you a lot of these folks like the Rolling Stones and these other guys didn't know that when they started to try to go in on him. But the reason why I brought that up is that he's all about the sources. Like, not only the reason why he's way better than I am when it comes to this stuff, and that's because he memorizes this stuff. Like, me, when I do these presentations, I got all my notes. You know what I'm saying? I do all my notes. I got screenshots and all this stuff. But Ron knows this stuff off the top of his head, and it's not just his stuff. He's actually quoting the material, right? So he's just one of those unusual people that have the sources, and that if it's in his book, right, and if they're going to critique his book as far as like the information that's in there, they better be careful, because just like you pointed out today, because 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, that information is coming from a different source, right, other than Ron, right? So, yeah, it'll like I said, it'll be interesting, because my hope is that eventually they'll be held accountable for pushing out these lies.
Yeah, and I think what's unfortunate too is, and I expressed it to you offline, is when I was watching, I think it's Undisputed or whatever with Shannon Sharp or whatever, and whatever the other guy name is, but when he was talking about the situation, he's talking about Ron Dalton's book. Never read it. at one time, if someone made a reference to something, and if they told you not to read it, or they not necessarily didn't tell you not to read it, they just told you, hey, if you read it, be prepared for this, or whatever the case may be. But it was encouraging you to read it for yourself and see what's going to be your take of it. Now they're like, look, don't read it at all. Just believe what I say and do what I do, but don't read it. And I got a problem with that. I would have had more respect if the writer wrote in his thing that he read the book and he don't agree with what he's saying. Then that's a different argument. But to come out and call him anti-Semitic, and then he pulled all these talking points about that's been circulating about the Hebrew Israelites and lumped it all into this article to set up his points.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it all goes back to the Rolling Stones. It's like they're all pointing back to the Rolling Stones. Like they said it, they say that it's it's anti-Semitic, and then they kind of use that and build their defense or their narrative about it. But the funny, just real quick, because like I said, I know it's late, but the funny thing is that one of the quotes I didn't air was in the Shannon and Skip show, or the Skip and Shannon show. Skip actually read the I believe it was like either the overview or the summary or something like that that's in Amazon, before he kind of went in and provided his view of it. Pastor Kelly, if I'm just a neutral party that's listening in, that's going to make me want to read it, because it's basically said something to the effect of, this piece of information will, this book will help you, finally expose, who the true children of Israel are. And it kind of just went on a little bit from there. But it was a beautiful overview, right? It wasn't like one of those crazy. I don't know if Skip was hoping that it was going to be some sort of crazy Hebrew, radical Hebrew Israelite.
Yeah, you're all dead. Nobody going to heaven.
You know what I'm saying? But it was a beautiful Amazon overview summary, right? That was in there. And I'm like, oh, well, that sounds like something I want to read. So,
yeah.
Anyway, but yeah.
Well, I hope people do, and I'm sure some is going to go out and read it, because of course, Kyrie mentioned it, and they're talking about it. Controversy can draw attention, and sometimes controversy can be the best form of advertisement as well. But I just hope and pray that Ron, hold him accountable, because his reputation is on the line. You got the NBA, you got the New Jersey Nets, because they're two different. A lot of people don't understand that they're two different. You got the NBA that facilitates the owners and fight for the owners, but then you also have the New Jersey Nets, the owner. That's something. The owner, that's like working for a company and your own boss throw you under the bus publicly. And then you have other outlets that are talking about this. You have news outlets. You have, as you just pointed out, you have First Take. I'm sure they're going to talk about it. I haven't watched First Take today, but other shows, they are talking about it. And they are actually defaming him because, again, we just touched a little bit on the article. If we went through that, imagine what the legal ramifications could point out and hold accountability to that article.
Yeah. And I think what we was trying to point out too is that the danger of leaving this alone and not trying to help defend it. The danger is that Ron is is step one. Like, because a lot of the talking points that Ron talks about, hey, we're the Israelites. Hey, the Israelites are brown skinned, dark skinned people, that sort of stuff. Like, that's the stuff that we talk about. Right. I mean, and again, just for the sake of if we have a lot of new, viewers today, but the thing that we do is that we use old references. We use books that we didn't write in libraries that that we didn't stack. Right. But these are all references that have been out there for a very long time. And then we also point out that that it was an accepted narrative for hundreds of years. Like this wasn't some like some people like to say, you know, history remix. Like this just came out in the 1800s with 1900s in Chicago or Crowdy or something like that. This has been out there for hundreds of years, and all we're doing is pointing people back to what it was before, you know, 1850s or the 1900s.
Absolutely. And as we get ready to wrap up, because I know I'm going to have bags the size of suitcases.
The morning comes early.
I got to make a drive to Ohio, so I'm gonna head out there as soon as I get up. Of course, get some rest, you know, but I'm gonna head out there. But any final comments you want to share with the people? Any garbage can recommendations you have?
No, I mean, I guess it's the same garbage can from that we threw out yesterday. We took out yesterday, and that's the Rolling Stones article. You know, because that, like I said, that's the foundation. That's it. So if we throw that garbage can out, all that other trash has to go out along with it.
Absolutely. Let's give them the garbage can right now. Those that don't know his name, are not aware of his name is John Blistein. Now, I'm not saying for any of you guys to go trolling him and being belligerent. I'm just stating his name because he is the writer of that article. He's the one that wrote the article, and they updated the article. I wish I'd have taken a screen print like I would normally do, but I didn't when I first saw the article, because they did change some of the content there, not just added on. And they didn't just, you know how many news articles, they'll just, whatever they add, they'll make a note that this has been added. They changed that article some. So, but I want to give him the garbage can. I want to give Shannon Sharp the garbage can. I want to give all those that have prejudged the situation and are not doing their due diligence. Read the book or watch the movie so that way you can form an accurate assessment of what you read. And, you know, then if you don't agree with it, that's a different thing. But he listed sources. There's sources listed all through the book. If you want to say that he used wrong sources, that's a different story. You cannot be called anti-Semitic, you know, even though you can't, you know, that the term in itself is a whole nother discussion. But based off the definition, you cannot be called something and you're using a lot of what's there is the sources that's coming from the Jewish community. You can't. You have to validate those sources. You have to vet and make sure, all right, well, I don't agree how you use this source. That's a little different. But then to say that or put the notion out there that he making up stuff, and then you take a national talking point that was created, it was changed. He didn't actually go to the Southern Poverty website to actually see that they changed a lot of the stuff that many are still running with. And I didn't have time to go there. But again, I'm going to throw him in the garbage can. I'm going to throw Shannon Sharp. I'm going to throw everyone that are not doing their due diligence, that are using lazy scholarship, ear candy or ear hustling to try to get a microwave understanding of what's going on. It's not going to work that way. If you want to talk about the situation, do your research and then commentate on it. So I'm throwing them in the garbage can, all of them. Like my grandmother said, everything, you know, I'm throwing them all in there. I'm going to throw, give them a 3-piece. Give them their order to go. Righty. Cuz anything else, or you good?
I'm good. Love you, cuz. Excellent,
all right.
Excellent presentation.
All right. Well, with that being said, family, in the words of Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, as he encouraged Israel when they were at what seemed to be a dead end, and the Egyptians was coming from behind to kill them and take many of them back into slavery. He said shared these words of encouragement as instructed by the Most High. He said, "Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh." These Egyptians that you see here today, you will never have to deal with them again. They will not have power over you again. They may exist, but they will not have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you. But here's the kicker. This is what we have to do, family. We have to learn how to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word there is charash, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.